All right, good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. If we could please have the roll call.
Councilmember Brightingham.
Here.
Councilmember Nguyen.
Yeah.
Councilmember Tran.
Here.
Councilmember Muñetón.
Here.
Councilmember Aristegui.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dovin.
Present.
And Mayor Klopfenstein.
Here, we will now move into our invocation, which will be led by our Assistant City Manager, Matt West. And if I could have Councilman Philip Nguyen lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Prayer first.
Great. Please prepare yourself according to your faith. Dear Lord, as we begin, let us pause to recognize the shared human experience that connects us, the aspirations we hold, the challenges we face, and the responsibilities we share. May our discussions be guided by respect, empathy, and a commitment to meeting the needs of our community. And please continue to bless those who devote themselves each day to the safety, health, and well-being of others. We ask this in your name. Amen. I will read the coffee on that, please.
With that, we will adjourn and head into Housing Authority.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you please call roll?
Commissioner Aristegui.
Here.
Commissioner Klopfenstein.
Here.
Commissioner Muñetón.
Here.
Commissioner Philip Nguyen.
Yeah.
Commissioner Tan Nguyen.
Here.
Commissioner Tran.
Here.
Vice Chair Dovin.
Present.
Chair Brightingham.
Here.
And Commissioner Beckles is absent.
I have no cards for anyone wishing to address the housing Housing Authority. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the Housing Authority? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion for a consent.
I move. I
Second.
second. Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second call for the vote. I guess roll call vote?
Commissioner Aristegui.
Yes.
Commissioner Klopfenstein.
Yes.
Commissioner Muñetón.
Yes.
Commissioner Philip Nguyen.
Yes.
Commissioner Tan Nguyen.
Yes.
Commissioner Tran.
Yes.
Vice Chair Dovin.
Aye.
And Chair Brightingham.
Yes.
Motion received, 8 yes votes.
Okay, do we have any matters from commissioners? Okay, seeing none, we'll adjourn and go back to, or I guess we're going to successor agency next, or are we going back to the council? Okay, back to the council meeting.
Thank you. All right, that takes us into presentations. Item number 1.
This evening for presentations, we do have a community spotlight in recognition of Hank Amin, the longest standing employee of the Walt Disney Company for 35 years of service with the Garden Grove Fire Department.
Yes, tonight, the Garden Grove City Council recognizes an individual whose life story is closely tied to both Garden Grove and the Walt Disney Company, Mr. Hank Amin. We'd please invite you up to the podium here. After serving in the United States Air Force, Hank and his wife Mary made California their permanent home in 1958. That same year, he began his Disney journey as a Jungle Cruise skipper, joining the Garden Grove Fire Department soon after. For 35 years, he served the city with dedication by responding to emergencies, keeping the community safe, and made a lasting difference. He later returned to the Disneyland Resort as a firefighter, monitoring pyrotechnic safety during the evening fireworks spectaculars. Throughout his life, Hank has led with empathy and dedicated his time serving others in Garden Grove, Disneyland, and beyond. Among his many treasured memories is a personal interaction with Walt Disney himself, an experience he recalls fondly. Today, at 93 years young, Hank holds the distinction of being the current longest-standing employee of the Walt Disney Company, celebrating 62 years of service. In addition to his remarkable career, Hank has spent more than 50 years supporting retired firefighters through fundraising efforts, and he was recently honored before a sold-out crowd at a Savannah Bananas baseball game. Hank Amin's story highlights the very best of Garden Grove, and he continues to inspire everyone he encounters. At this time, the mayor and city council would like to present Hank Amin with a Crystal Award recognizing his service to both Garden Grove and the Walt Disney Company. Thank you.
Will you mind coming over so we can take a photo?
Yes, print,
you.
yeah.
Way to go, Hank.
Thank you for this honor. You know, one of the treasures that I have is that my children was raised in Garden Grove, and their children were raised also in Garden Grove. I had a beautiful family life because of the career I had in City of Garden Grove. And I'll always cherish that because it was a big part of my life. So I want to thank everybody here for the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's great to see you here tonight. I was at that Savannah Banana game, actually. I saw you out there. You're a rock star for sure. Thank you again. All right, we'll move on to item 2.
Item 2 is an update on the 2025 Foods of Garden Grove live event as presented by the Community Services Department. And Mark Freeman is here to provide that report.
Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. It's a pleasure to be here tonight to share an update on the 2025 Foods of Garden Grove Live special event that is in partnership with the Garden Grove Community Foundation. We're excited to bring this event back for its second year. Just like last year, it's going to take place at Village Green Park, just across the street from here, on Friday, September 26th, from 5:30 to 9 p.m. I'm pleased to announce that pre-sale tickets are already available on our website, which is ggcity.org/foglive. Is where you can find the tickets. And the ticket breakdown is as follows. Single tickets are $3. We have our fun pack, which is 5 tickets for $15. The foodie pack for 10 tickets for $30. And then the family pack, which is 20 tickets for $45, which is actually the kind of the best value that we have there. And then we have our VIP package if people are looking to kind of upgrade their experience. That is $75. And those tickets include 16 tasting tickets, exclusive food and drinks, a reserved seating area, fire pits, access to the fire pits, lawn games, and even some limited edition Fog Live merchandise. So, as you know, last year's event was a pretty big success. However, that success led to some long wait times. And so to remedy that, this year our goal is to expand the Fog Live event by adding more restaurants and more activities for everyone to enjoy. As you see here, the restaurants on the left are a few of our returning eateries, and the ones on the right are new to the event this year. So we have quite a few already signed up, and we're still looking for more. And so to stay up to date, for anyone who's interested, can go to our website that I mentioned to get the latest with our restaurants. They're all going to be listed on our website. Now, we are also still accepting restaurant applications, so if there are any interested restaurants, they can visit the same webpage to access this flyer that you see on the screen. And the application to participate is there as well, and there's a lot more details for any restaurants that are interested. The Garden app, where we are once again partnering with the Garden app to provide live entertainment throughout the night. This year's headliner is No Duh, the #1 No Doubt tribute band. They'll be joined by the jam band Remix, and in between sets, DJ Jason B will be playing today's top hits for all of us to enjoy. So now let's talk about what's new to this year's event. We've added some exciting new features for the community to enjoy. I would like to talk about that. First one is our biggest addition, which is Art in the Dark, which is an immersive blacklight UV reactive experience. Our residents will enjoy interactive activities like blacklight graffiti street art, the return of the Old Grove Autos paintable classic car, but with a UV reactive twist, a splatter art mural, a 40-foot UV art exhibit created by local artists, and many more activities in the Art in the Dark area. And then for those that want to create their own art, we will also be offering a blacklight paint and sip experience. For $45, participants will get all the supplies needed to create the artwork, excuse me, a beverage of choice, and a live guided instruction to create their own UV reactive masterpiece. And to add even more fun, our fun zone that we had last year is getting upgraded into what we're calling the glow zone. This will have oversized LED lit lawn games, UV reactive carnival games, blacklight crafts, temporary UV tattoos, and more. Another exciting addition this year is the Public Works Touch-a-Truck area. Families will have the chance to get up and close with the city's heavy equipment vehicles, which is always a big hit with the kids, and also provides a fun and interactive way for the community to connect with our city services and our city partners. And now here's just a quick look at the event's footprint. As you can see, we've expanded the layout from last year to make room for all of the new activities and food vendors. So it's kind of expanded into the park a bit more, and then extending further up on Main Street there, further north. And finally, parking. In addition to the regular street parking, we've identified several lots nearby and are currently working to acquire even more event space for parking. An updated map showing all the parking options will be posted on our website, which is again ggcity.org/foglive. So thank you, and this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. This is going to be very exciting. Colleagues, any questions, comments?
I'm just excited. Cannot wait for it. And I already talked to a couple of District 3 restaurants to sign up for this.
Very
I
cool.
cannot wait. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go ahead and pull items 3 and 4 from the consent calendar since we have people here this evening to receive a few proclamations. So if I could have a motion to pull items 3 and 4 from the consent calendar.
I move, yeah.
If you'd like.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, and that takes us to item 3 of the 2 we've pulled.
Yes, this evening we have adoption of a proclamation recognizing September 2025 as Hunger Action Month, and Assistant City Manager Matt West will read that proclamation.
All right, please bear with me. All right, 2025 Hunger Action Month. Whereas hunger and poverty are issues of vital concern in California, where 1 in 5 Californians face food insecurity on a daily basis and do not know where their next meal will come from. Whereas everyone needs nutritious food to thrive, and people are working hard to provide for themselves and their families. Yet over 359,000 individuals, including over 86,000 children here in Orange County, are food insecure. And whereas the City of Garden Grove is committed to taking steps to combat hunger in every part of our community and to provide additional resources that those in Garden Grove need. And whereas the City of Garden Grove is committed to working with the Orange County Hunger Alliance and educating people about the role and importance of food banks and food care in addressing hunger and raising awareness of the need to devote more resources and attention to hunger issues. And whereas in the first half of 2025, Orange County Food Bank and Second Harvest Food Bank collectively recorded an average of 810,000 individual food distribution visits per month from our neighbors facing food insecurity. And whereas in the first half of 2025, Orange County Food Bank and Second Harvest Food Bank have collectively distributed 36,709,298 pounds of food through its partner network, food pantries, soup kitchens, shelters, senior centers, schools, colleges, universities, and other community organizations. And whereas Abound Food Care helps to facilitate the recovery of over 25 million pounds of excess edible food in Orange County each year, reducing food waste and diverting that food to those who need it. And whereas the month of September has been designated Hunger Action Month in order to bring attention to food insecurity in our communities and to enlist the public in the movement to end hunger by taking action, including volunteering, donating, and advocating to ensure every community and everybody in it has the food they need to thrive. And I promise, the last whereas, food banks and other organizations across the country, including the members of the Orange County Hunger Alliance, will host numerous events throughout the month of September to bring awareness and help end food insecurity in our local community. Now, therefore, the Garden Grove City Council does hereby recognize September 2025 as Hunger Action Month in Garden Grove and call this observance to the attention of our citizens. And I'd like to invite up Mark Lowry, Director of the Orange County Food Bank, and Becky Brown from the Abound Food Care to receive the proclamation.
Yeah, the Orange County Food Bank is proud to have called Garden Grove home for the last 25 years. We distributed 28 million pounds of food last year, helping nearly 300,000 people each month with the help of 18,000 volunteers and thousands of additional food and financial donors. But we don't do this work alone. We were able to join in partnership with the Second Harvest Food Bank of Orange County and Abound Food Care to form the Orange County Hunger Alliance, knowing that we're better together.
I just want to thank the City Council, the Mayor, and the City of Garden Grove for recognizing September as Hunger Action Month and just raising awareness of food insecurity and hunger in the city.
Thank you. We're grateful for all you do. Thank you so much. All right, that takes us to item 4, which I believe is another proclamation.
Yes, this evening, adoption of a proclamation recognizing September as Service Clubs Month. And Assistant City Manager Matt West will read that proclamation.
All right. Before we invite up the Lions Club to receive this year, I'll read the proclamation. Whereas Service Clubs and Garden Grove are organizations that engage in community service, charitable work, and fundraising. These clubs have been an integral part of Garden Grove for over 60 years and have made significant contributions to the development of our communities. And whereas Service Clubs play a vital role in community development by providing resources and services to support local communities. They contribute to various community projects such as building playgrounds, supporting educational programs, and providing scholarships. And whereas these clubs engage in various charitable works such as donating food, clothing, hygiene supplies, and toys to families and children in need, supporting local and international health programs, and aiding disaster relief efforts. And whereas Service Clubs provide leadership development opportunities for their members and provide avenues to learn about leadership skills, team building, and communication, assisting them in their personal and professional lives. And whereas these clubs offer networking opportunities for members where they can interact with other professionals and community leaders, build relationships, and expand their social and professional networks. And whereas Service Clubs also focus on developing the skills and talents of young people. They provide mentoring, leadership training, and scholarship opportunities for students and organize programs to support underprivileged youth. And whereas these clubs encourage civic engagement by providing platforms for citizens to connect with their communities, participate in volunteer activities, and advocate for positive change. Now, therefore, the Garden Grove City Council does hereby proclaim September as Service Clubs Month in Garden Grove in appreciation for all the significant contributions these organizations make to our communities. And at this time, I'd like to invite up Pam Barr and other representatives of the Lions Club. And I apologize, it's Judy. Sorry.
Thank you very much for this honor. We really appreciate being recognized by the city. The Lions Clubs International is the world's largest service organization with 1.4 million members worldwide. But the Garden Grove Host Lions, we have dedicated, all of our members dedicated to work specifically in Garden Grove and to help out our city and our first responders and anything that we can do in the city. We want everyone to know that if they need something, to please give us a call. And we would love to help out in any volunteer work that we can do, anything to benefit the city. So thank you for this award.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
if I may.
of course.
I just wanted to comment, our service clubs in Garden Grove are integral. I mean, they provide so much background. You know, we have Kiwanis, the Lions, Rotary, the Elks, of course, can't forget the Elks. I just wanted to bring up, I brought it up during agenda review last year, and I noticed that the memo on our thing has the service clubs listed, and it's not mentioning the Moose Club, which is a pretty big club here. It's not mentioning the Women's Club, which is a very big service club, and the oldest club in Garden Grove, the Masonic Lodge, right over here. So we're missing 3 of our service clubs on this, and I just wanted to point that out, so maybe next year we can rectify that.
Okay, thank you again, Lions. Thank you for all that you do. Okay, with that, we're going to hopscotch back over to oral communication now, and then we will handle consent again in a second. I have quite a few pink cards with me this evening, so I'm going to take them and queue you up 3 at a time, if that's all right. So we will start with Kyle Mason, Crystal Cervantes, and then Claire Flores.
Good evening, everybody. Stephanie, I appreciate you taking a moment and looking at the pictures and everything, and you have an idea of what's going on in the neighborhood. Hopefully you can get a couple more squad cars in our neighborhood area. That riverbed is something else. I don't want to pull any more dead bodies out of there. Please, get some more squad cars in over and get these homeless people out. What does it take? Doesn't the Trump thing, doesn't that have something to do with it? To pick up all these homeless people and get them off the streets and give them jobs and rehab and all that sort of stuff? I just don't seem to see any of it happening. All I keep getting is threats, and so do my neighbors. In fact, it took four phone calls yesterday to get the police to come out to the women's club where they have an encampment set up, which you saw the pictures of. We've got to put a stop to this, please. Otherwise, it's going to change and go the other way, and I don't want to go the other way. I mean, a truck and 8 guys, I want your addresses. That way we can take all the homeless, we'll bring them to your house, and we'll dump them there. Please, get the homeless off our area and clean up our area a little bit better. I have nothing more to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Crystal?
Hello, good evening, Mayor Kloppenstein and council members. I'm here to speak on supportive agenda item 12. I am an active community member and volunteer. My name is Crystal Cervantes, and I'm really passionate about helping people in our community. Recently, one of our schools in GGUSD was targeted by ICE. During drop-offs, a swarm of ICE descended on unsuspecting families. They detained a father who was just taking his kids to school. And it was a case of mistaken identity, and they ended up releasing him. But I can only imagine the panic and the fear that coursed through the families and the children during this time. It's a miracle that no one was actually hurt during drop-offs when we have cars and buses and children walking during this busy time arriving at school. ACEs, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences, this is a documented trauma where traumatic events that occur in childhood and adolescence can lead to toxic stress, which negatively impacts children's developing brains. The number of ACEs that occur in a child's lifetime is linked to a higher risk of chronic health problems, mental illness, and substance abuse later on in life. We need to stop ICE raids in our community and tell them they are not welcome here. We have families in Garden Grove who are experiencing food insecurity because they're afraid to be out in the community. They don't know where it's safe. I asked that the City of Garden Grove create a resource page for our community with links to food banks and community resources to assist them. During the summer, GGUSD opened a hotline for families that were in need, and a local group of parent volunteers like myself, we met that need by delivering food to these families. And we're grateful for partnerships like OC Food Bank because they were the ones that supplied the food to these local food banks like Hope and Our Redeemer Lutheran. But it was still a challenge to figure out what each food bank needed. Certain food banks are open certain days, some by appointment only, some you have to sign up with a QR code. These are all obstacles that the city can help bridge. We would really appreciate that a resource page on our city website with this information be established, especially if we're dedicating this month to combat hunger in our city. Lastly, I want to thank Councilwoman Aristegui for introducing Resolution 12 to the agenda. Thank you.
Claire?
Good evening. My name is Claire Flores. I'm a resident of Garden Grove for 35 years. Our community is made up of many ethnic groups, cultures, and religions. This is what makes our city such a gem. A city where you can go to a Vietnamese festival one weekend and then eat at one of OC's top-rated Mexican restaurants the next. This blending of cultures and ethnicities is what created this beautiful city, which I am proud of being a part of and couldn't imagine living anywhere else. I acknowledge that the City of Garden Grove has always worked hard in keeping our residents safe and has fostered a culture of acceptance of all groups. At this moment, one of those groups is living through one of the most difficult times we have witnessed in years. The uncertainty and the fear is heavy, and one of the biggest issues we have within this group is food insecurity. My daughter and I, along with an amazing group of other Garden Grove residents, held drives over the last 3 months, and we helped over 220 families. Since school has began and the raid started up again, our food drive organization has not received one request. So we took it upon ourselves to start contacting the families, and they've all said the same thing. The fear of reaching out for help is what's keeping them from asking for it. I would love to see the city create a hub where families can safely obtain the food, toiletries, and diapers they're in need of. Thank you.
All right, my next 3 speakers will be Courtney Cook, then Charlene Cuellar, and Tom Raber.
Hi. I'm here with updates on your districts since y'all are relying on us to provide your updates for you. Councilmember Joe Dovin? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'll get it. Said on a talk show on YouTube that we're gossiping about arrests and spreading fear, and none of us have seen an arrest. Aside from that being misinformation, his district has the most ICE activity in all of Garden Grove. Here's the last 2 weeks' major activities by ICE and Border Patrol. 4 people were arrested by Border Patrol at the Home Depot on August 16th. The video taken by a community member shows masked Border Patrol agents throwing men on the ground, pointing weapons directly at the camera. I was going to read a transcript, but it was honestly too horrific, and even watching the video with sound was pretty bad. Later that day, OC Supervisor Sarmiento and Santa Ana Councilmember Jesse Lopez were at another Home Depot in Santa Ana, talking to workers and demanding transparency. The next day, Sunday, August 17th, 6 workers were taken at Chapman Car Wash. On August 19th, a school went into lockdown because of an ICE arrest outside, which you heard about earlier. He was not, actually the man was a legal resident and was later released since they questioned and arrested the wrong person. I'm glad that there's a resolution, but also I want to say I'm a little disappointed because basically the resolution says that Garden Grove Police will comply with California law, SB 54, which is already a law, so yeah, makes sense. But there's not any harmony really left in the community. A lot of community members, like you have already heard from, have set up food drives, and we've set up a patrol and safety hub on weekends in Garden Grove Home Depot, and we need resources for each other and day laborers. I also want to mention that everyone's fears about losing funding for Sanctuary City is no longer valid after an initial ruling in court. But what is already being affected is the hotel visitors tax revenue when people aren't interested in coming here. I'm tired and mad that I have to be here for the second month in a row after 4 meetings to just kind of support a discussion of a bare minimum proposal. But don't worry also if we leave and miss your witty and charming speeches, because the meetings are online and it's 2025 and we can download the video, share them with contacts for thousands of people on Instagram. YouTube even has an automatic translation function, so we can watch all the comments in real time across languages. Thanks.
Charlene?
Hello. Good evening, Mayor Klopfenstein and council members, and all here in attendance. My name is Charlene Cuellar, and I am a parent leader here in the city of Garden Grove, and I work closely with families across our schools. I want to thank the council and Councilwoman Aristelli for bringing forward this resolution, number 12. When families feel safe and respected, children are able to focus on learning and growing. And a commitment to community harmony builds the trust that holds our neighborhoods together. I commend the council for leading with care and compassion, and hope that our leaders here in Garden Grove understand that we are here and strongest when we stand together, and especially for one another. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tom Braber. So let's go ahead and go back to July 17th of 2025 at the Planning Commission, because tonight, hopefully you guys do not vote and pass it on so more discussion could be done. But this has to do with item number 9 today, the Harbinger Motors. Did they vote yes to move it over here? And the answer is yes. But how many commissioners were there? 4. 3 were missing. One of them did a motion to stop them voting, to have a new letter sent out for a public hearing, because the letter, which was the second letter, was misleading. Then somebody else decided to put another motion before the other motion was voted on, and they voted to move it over to this chambers. The question is, do all these letters, either mailed or on Garden Grove's website, true to what they're doing? And I will discuss that later. But what's interesting is what the Garden Grove planning personnel stated. They stated that there was only one company that wanted to change the FAR, which is the floor area ratio. Right now, it's 0.50, and they want to change it to 0.55. Very interesting. All of that, all of this stuff, all this labor that the staff has been doing for a 0.05. Parking spots. Right now, Harbinger is parking at the Calvary Chapel. Harbinger is also parking in the residence. Harbinger is using their inventory to use their own parking spots, which is at 50, which that's what they stated, 50 spots. Harbinger is also renting a warehouse for their inventory that they can't park in their own parking lot. The question is this: if you guys vote for it and pass it today, what I'm experiencing in my little world in West Garden Grove is this: there is no parking at all on 2 streets from this time to this time, twice a day. But yet Garden Grove Police Department ignores the signs that have been there since 19 1965. We have an office professional that parks on Bailey Street. 20 cars. They're not visiting nobody. They're using the residence as their private parking lot, as
Sir.
in 1965, that's what McDonnell Douglas did. Thank you.
All right, the next three speakers, Dwight Huh, Jared Wallace, and Tony Flores. I apologize if I misspelled or misspoke your last name.
Good evening, Garden Grove City Council. My name is Dwight Hua. I'm a resident of Garden Grove, and I'm a community organizer at Viet Rise. We're a nonprofit organization based here in Garden Grove, working to build leadership and advance social justice for working-class Vietnamese and immigrant communities across Orange County and Little Saigon. I'm here today to support agenda item number 12, to discuss an adoption of a resolution reaffirming community safety and harmony. This resolution is one small step that this council can take to support the many, many members of our immigrant community who are currently under attack and afraid of what could happen next. On August 19th, 2025, Immigration and Customs Enforcement wrongfully detained a father after he dropped off his child at one of the GGUSD's elementary schools. After being taken to a detention center, verifying his identity and documentation, he was later released within an hour. Now imagine yourself in the shoes of any of those young students. There are many videos circulating in the news, in the media, that have shown the lack of dignity, the confusion and fear that these ICE raids create. Schools are meant to be a place for these young people to learn and grow, to spend time with their peers and educators, and figure out who they are and what is important to them. And this lays in direct contrast as what's happening to our community with these immigration enforcements. ICE's behavior has been normalized and encouraged under the current federal administration, and now for schools to be subject for these intimidation and enforcement is unacceptable. My role at our organization is to run our youth programs and working with these young people across Little Saigon. And we've had discussions alongside these bright, young Vietnamese students about what's been happening to our communities, to our neighbors and our families. They've shown empathy, compassion, how have things personally affected them, and demonstrating genuine care for their community. And most inspiring is that they want to do something about it. They want to figure out ways to help their neighbors and make this world a better and safer place. So I hope you all are also inspired to do your part as representatives for many of these students. Supporting this resolution is a good step, but more importantly, we urge the City Council to get resources and support directly for families impacted by immigration enforcement, like putting a website with Know Your Rights resources on the city, partnering with community organizations to host legal clinics and workshops. I know this is something City Council Member Tran wants to do, and we're excited to work with her to make it happen. Now, these are the kinds of actions we want our government leaders to take, and I hope that they inspire more bold action to support our neighbors and families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members, for hearing me out today. I know most of you personally, but for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jared Wallace. I've lived here in Garden Grove for 11 years, and I work at Garden Grove High School. I've been there for 11 years as well. I love living in Garden Grove. I love that our city politics don't get as dirty and messy as our neighbor cities. I love that the city has used its power, although sometimes slowly, to affirm its support for all residents, no matter their backgrounds and identities. I love that our city council honestly seems to be filled with civic servants who are locally focused first and foremost. Unfortunately, the reality now is that all national politics is local, and vice versa. As basic tenets of due process, checks and balances, and civil rights protections have been limited by the federal administration, our city has a choice in where it stands in these trying times. I understand, as a previous civics teacher, that there are limits to what local government can do in terms of the recent ICE raids and the abuse of community members. I acknowledge that there are precious federal funds at risk at times. But whatever actions can be done to support residents who no longer can leave their house for the second time since 2019, whatever can be done to limit how much federal forces can harass and intimidate residents, whatever can be done to affirm our community members again, to affirm the value of our community members yet again, that their lives and rights have value in the eyes of the city, should be done steadfast and with passion. Please Think back to the religious values, the civic values that inspired you to run for office. What do they tell you is the right thing to do in this moment, where rampant evil and unjust forces are abusing the core tenets of what make our country and our communities great? Where do you fit into that story? Thank you for your time.
Tony Flores.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and staff. I had already sent in a written communications regarding this particular subject, the anti-ICE movement that's here, but I closed with something last time, and I'll open with something this time. God bless the men and women of law enforcement. God bless ICE, and God bless President Trump. So, with that being said, the part of the information that's in this resolution they acknowledges the fear and concerns expressed by many in the community. What's interesting about that is there's only really a few here. When you think about the city's population of 172,000, 173,000 according to the website, a fraction are concerned about it. But the concerns that we do have, the fears and concerns that we citizens do have, that's real, that happens every day, is our fears and concerns about crime, overbuilding, overcrowding, lack of parking, aging infrastructure, traffic, lack of green spaces, ever-increasing water and sewer rates, lack of code enforcement, and what appears to be a diminishing quality of life in the city. That's the real fear. You talk about the hateful rhetoric, denounces any hateful rhetoric. Last time I was here, I had some folks in the audience say F you to me, and I didn't see, you two, I didn't see you do anything. You just sat there. Now, thank God the mayor banged the gavel, but saying F you, that's not cool. Now, maybe those folks are not educated and they need a thesaurus, but, you know, I do have a right to speak, but that's what they had to say. But this is what this says, denounces any hateful rhetoric. Hope that goes to supporting the folks in law enforcement, especially ICE. And it is true, whether people want to say it or not, but there is a potential effect on our federal funding. According to the city's website, we have at least close to 17 programs federally funded. I understand we just got around $3 million for a park recently from the feds. You know, I think we want to keep an eye on what we're doing with all that stuff. And recently there was a person that was taken by ICE, basically a pedophile off the Chapman car wash area. Thank God they're out there doing that. But again, I want to caution you folks, all you council members, that you just can't arbitrarily start doing your thing, setting up, using public resources that are going against our already in place laws. Our U.S. Constitution, our California Constitution. Don't be like Governor Newsom stepping on Article 21, Sections 1 through 3 with his redistricting nonsense. Got to make sure that we stay in play, because I am not bluffing. I've already talked to the Department of Justice. I will send a complaint in on this city. Hopefully none of you folks are involved in that, but I will send it in. And I'll close with no on Prop 50 as it comes up. Thank you.
All right, my next three speakers will be Claire Dan, Chuck Jones, and Kenda Taylor.
Hello and good evening. My name is Claire, and I felt called to speak tonight as a Christian who attends Living Spring Church in Garden Grove, and as a teacher to advocate for peace in our city. I rise today in support of the Resolution 12 for harmony and community safety, because it reflects not only the best of our city's values, but also the heart of my faith. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus reached out to those who were marginalized and afraid. He welcomed the outcast, ate with the rejected, and lifted up those treated as less than human. Shouldn't we do the same for our neighbors here in Garden Grove? This resolution calls us to that same compassion. Diversity is our strength, and law enforcement should reflect that by protecting all residents with fairness and dignity. Jesus said, "Love your neighbors as yourself." Well, immigrants are also our neighbors. And we know that federal ICE raids create fear and division. Families worry about separation. Children live with anxiety and traumatic experiences at school. and people feel unsafe in their own neighborhoods. While we can't control the federal law, we can definitely declare that our city chooses mercy, dignity, and unity. This resolution, and most critically the next steps that we take, matter a lot. And I hope that Garden Grove will reject hatred and scapegoating and instead stand for compassion and love. The resolution also reminds our neighbors that they're not alone. We stand with them. Jesus said, "Whatever you did for the least of these, you did for me," in Matthew 25. So we urge you, please take further action to support all residents impacted by immigration enforcement. And please take action. Put those resource lists up, pass this resolution, so Garden Grove can be a city where every single person is valued, every neighbor feels safe, and every family knows that they belong here. Lastly, I pray for wisdom for the council members and law enforcement in their consideration of this resolution. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chuck Jones. Along with Mayor Klopfenstein, my family has been in Garden Grove for over 125 years. My family owned the Elliott Water Company and provided water to the residents of the area until the village purchased it in 1916. The house my grandfather grew up in still stands on Walnut just behind Garden Grove High School. My great-grandparents, members of the Methodist Church, donated a substantial sum of money to help build one of Garden Grove's most iconic buildings, designed by famed architect Richard Neutra, the Garden Grove United Methodist Church. My grandfather, at 16 years old, ran the projector at the Gem Theater. He also helped start the Garden Grove Historical Society and served as its president. And generations upon generations of my family from both sides have walked the halls of Garden Grove High School. Many family members still live here, including my mother that lives in the home her grandparents purchased new in 1952. While I may not currently reside here, my roots run deep, and I am forever bedded in the fabric of Garden Grove, a city I love and care deeply about. No, I did not come here today to talk about my family history or boast that Stephanie and I come from two of the oldest families still living in Garden Grove. Okay, maybe I did want to boast a little bit. But what I'm here to talk about is a little more serious. Earlier this month, ICE raids took place across the city. While immigration policy can be debated, compassion, empathy, and human decency cannot. Since the immigration raids began, we have seen people with protective orders arrested, foreign students with visas and proper documentation placed in immigration detention facilities, and children that are American citizens with cancer being deported. And here at a Garden Grove Elementary School, a father was detained while dropping his child off. Through all of this, silence from the mayor and members of the council has been deafening. Mayor Klopfenstein, Stephanie, I've racked my brain on how to approach this. I thought about reaching out to you privately, but private conversations will not serve the people of this community and will do nothing to quell their fears. You and I as white people have a lot of privilege in this situation. We do not have to carry around documentation proving that we are citizens. We do not have to worry about masked men showing up at our homes and places of work. And we do not have to worry if our mom and dad will be there when we get home from school. The other 83% of the city, including members of this council, do not have that luxury. In June of 2020, you issued a statement condemning the brutal killing of George Floyd. In that post, you shared a quote from the Bible, Mark 12:31. You shall love your neighbors as yourself. These people being targeted in our city during the recent immigration raids are our neighbors. And in this moment, I have to ask, where's that love now? Even though our political beliefs don't align, to see a fellow classmate achieve what you have is inspiring. I have always said that women make the best leaders. Mayor Klopfenstein, I am asking you today to show compassionate leadership, support the resolution being put forward, and to prove me right that women do make the best leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck.
Kenda Taylor.
Hello, my name is Kenda Taylor. I'm a resident of Garden Grove since 1968. I'm here tonight regarding item 12. And as I read through it, many of the items are very clear and I agree with. However, and also hearing a number of the things here this evening, I didn't know some of these things, to be honest with you. So I do have compassion for our area, but I do not believe we should restrict our police department from supporting in situations where it might arise. That's my main piece here. So I would not say that I would approve of this, if you will, if it was my decision, as it is written. So that's all I have to say.
All right, my next three speakers, I have Victor, Pastor Michelle Ramage, and Christine Lopez Edis.
I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about, but first thing I want to say is thanks to law enforcement, fire department, first responders, anyone involved in that form of safety for not just Garden Grove, but the United States. And that includes ICE, because ICE is diverse. It's made up of every nationality in the city of Garden Grove. They have families and they are following the law to the best of their ability. So if you have an issue with ICE, please take it to the federal government. Do not come down on the city of Garden Grove on that, because they are under federal regulations to follow the law. Additionally, including city manager who has to support that. So I'm chewing up a lot of my valuable time just to defend the city on that behalf. I am safe in the city of Garden Grove because of the police department. I'm a Native American Indian with red skin, and I have no problem walking throughout the city side by side with ICE. They're not going to harass me. I'm not on their list. I did not break the law. So please be careful when you're assaulting the wrong parties. Now, talking about assaulting, I'm going to verbally assault the city of Garden Grove about trash. I have been here before. The city has given 36-year trash monopoly. That is a foolish decision. Anyone here who supports the continuation, including the city clerk, the manager, and the city attorney, with allowing the city Garden Grove, which is Republic Services, to have an extended monopoly, you're foolish. I have approximately 40 years environmental trash management experience. I know better than everyone here on what trash companies should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. Anyone to give a free market service, vendor service, to a hauler and give them a monopoly is crazy. So what I'm going to say, July 1st, 2025, City of Garden Grove approved 4 Republic Services to increase trash rates over 4% on Garden Grove residents, that was last month, that are disabled, low-income seniors. Are you aware of that? Across the board, approximately 50 items, you blindly increase rates, from even opening a gate with a key for 5% for Republic Services to raise their rate. Now, it's an insult to the disabled and the seniors in the city of Garden Grove to have been assessed an erroneous charge. I'm offering the city of Garden Grove my personal services pro bono. That means free. And to represent the city of Garden Grove with an LOA, letter of authorization or agency, to defend the residents and businesses against Republic Services. And I would directly approach Republic Services, and anyone in the city can ride shotgun with me while I read them the Riot Act. Thank you. Well, I use a little of my time for the police department, fire department. But I would support the city of Garden Grove on going face-to-face with Republic Services under their monopoly within the contract. And I've done it nationwide for
Sorry, I
major
need you to wrap it up,
corporations.
please. I can't
Sure.
give you extra time when I haven't given others the same.
Oh, I did not grow up with Stephanie's family, but I've been in the area. My family's been in the area for about 10,000 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Michelle Ramage, and I am an ordained pastor, and have been a pastor at Living Spring Church in Garden Grove, the associate pastor, for the past 6 years, and I've lived as a resident in Garden Grove for the past 2 years. and I'm here tonight to support the resolution promoting harmony and public safety in our city. Garden Grove, as we know, is a vibrant and diverse community, and it's made stronger by the immigrants who are here, who bring their gifts, their culture, and their resilience. Yet, as a pastor, I have heard stories of many immigrants in our city who are living with fear and uncertainty, and in many cases, they are being unjustly targeted. What happens to the most vulnerable among us should matter to all of us. Our well-being as a city is tied to the well-being of those on the margins. Throughout Scripture, which not everyone holds to be true, but I do as a pastor, God reminds his people again and again and again to care for the stranger and foreigner in our midst. We're even told that in welcoming strangers, we may be entertaining angels without knowing it. So it makes me sad to think of how many angels our city has lost and will continue to lose if we do not step up, if we do not take action, if we do not stand on our values. So as a person of faith, I am called to notice and respond to the suffering of my neighbors, especially the most vulnerable. And I believe that as a city, we are called to do the same. And I pray that together we would prioritize harmony and safety. How can we say no to harmony and safety? Those are such beautiful values. And I pray that we could create a compassionate community together where every person, no matter what they believe, no matter who they are, no matter where they're from, could be treated with dignity and given the chance to flourish. We all deserve a chance to flourish. And I pray that God would give all of us who are in leadership. It's hard to be a leader. It's hard to lead in the midst of such polarization, but I pray that God would give us wisdom, compassion, and courage as we make decisions. And I want to thank you for your service, for all that you do, and to remind you that the way we treat the most vulnerable is a marker of an excellent and exceptional city. And so I pray that our compassion and courage as a city would show that we are truly an exceptional and excellent city. Thank you.
Christine?
Hi, good evening. First, I want to acknowledge and pay my respects to the ancestral and unceded territory of the Tonga and Huanyeño people who are the first to occupy the land where I'm speaking from tonight. I am here to express my concern of the unwarranted presence of ICE in our communities that are driving fear and disrupting our way of life. The unjustified raids by our current administration have hit local businesses. Kidnappings are happening in our neighborhoods. Recently, an incident during student drop-offs near a school that my daughters formerly attended and my nephews currently attend. This created fear and anxiety for our teachers, parents, and children. Every child has a constitutional right to an education without living in fear, and so our city must act. I am a homeowner in District 4 and 1, and my tenants should not live in fear. When one of our neighbors is targeted by their physical traits on the basis of assumption, then we all become a target, especially when more than 85% of the city's population is diverse. I ask that our city follow other local cities' actions with tangible means and protect our communities from these unjustified raids, or that we reaffirm our commitment to community safety and harmony in Resolution 12 that is on tonight's agenda at the least. Our neighbors are helping with food donation drives and drop-offs. We are grateful for our school district, car clubs, and nonprofits who are stepping up to help. We are stretched thin. City Council, what have you done? Where is the commitment to the community? As an educator and a voter, I am reminded of the impacts of doing nothing to protect our community. The horrific visualization of these incidents will not go away, especially when we don't feel safe and we don't feel heard by our elected officials. I hear that we depend on federal funds from HUD, which helps provide for low-cost housing. There is a proposal at the federal level to cut or eliminate the funds altogether. No city will be saved whether we act or we don't act to protect our residents. Perhaps we cannot control what HUD does, but we can control
how we act when most of our community feels under attack. Our actions must not be influenced by fear or the what ifs. In this city, we are family, and we are all being impacted directly or indirectly. We should not have to live our lives in fear or intimidation. We deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and it's time that we act. Thank you.
All right, my next three speakers will be Joel Silverthorne, Edith Leonard, and Tim Fan.
Hi, my name's Joel Silverthorne, live at Garden Brook Senior Village. God bless these United States. That's what we said in 1830 when Andrew Jackson deported American Indians. Didn't treat them very well either. If there's anybody in this room that didn't have an ancestor that was discriminated against, that was treated very unfairly, then one of your ancestors were probably the ones that sat by when it happened. My BA in International Studies doesn't let me put my head in the ground. I'm all for number 12 on the agenda. Anybody in here have somebody in their family from the Greatest Generation that spent time, a little bit of time fighting fascism? A little bit of time? Probably they didn't want to talk about it. Probably didn't tell you very much about it. But they don't want it to happen again. They certainly don't want it to happen to their grandchildren. And so God bless these United States in 2025 if we can accept and realize that when we say the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of every meeting, that it says at the very end, liberty and justice for all. Everybody. Illegals and us and everybody. And if somebody here doesn't know the difference between local police and federal police, they got to go back to civics class. They all have families and they all care. We need to take care of us, the residents. And if we can't make a resolution, then the citizens are going to do it anyway. We're going to do it anyway. Okay? Just want to say, I work at the baseball stadium just for fun now that I'm retired, and beginning of any stadium, Star Spangled Banner, right? Most sports. The first stanza when we get through, people don't realize there's a question mark at the end of that first stanza. Go Google it. It's a question because he wasn't able to answer the question. Is there? It's for us to answer that. Thank you.
Okay, hi, I'm Edith. Oh, I think that's gonna fall. Okay, I don't have anything written down. I'm just here to remind you that 2026 is coming up, and anybody in this room could take your seat. You have a large proportion of your constituents here asking for one thing, and it's really not that hard to do. Harmony, like, why would you be against that? That's insane. I hope you don't take the advice of a guy that can't even open up a PDF. Spending resources on what we don't support. How much do you think it costs to send our police officers on these ICE raids? Like, those are our funds too. So just do your job. Just do your job. Listen to your constituents. That's all.
Tim Fan?
Good evening, council members. My name is Tim Fan, and I am the Civic Engagement Manager at Vic Rise. We express our support for Agenda Item 12, and we strongly urge the reaffirmation of Resolution 409-17 to affirm community harmony and safety. When this resolution was first passed in 2017, it provided much needed clarity regarding Garden Grove's position on the Sanctuary State Act, the California Values Act, SB 54. Today, amid escalating federal immigration enforcement that has deeply affected Garden Grove families and our youth, that clarity and reassurance are needed more than ever. In past city council meetings, members of the council have expressed direct concerns about losing funding for the city. If there was ever an explicit stance that appeared to be in opposition to the federal government, we draw your attention to a court ruling provided this past weekend in which U.S. District Judge William Orrick in San Francisco determined that the federal government could not deny funding to local municipalities that limit cooperation with federal immigration enforcement. While we understand that the legal situation is forever changing, we urge the council to act with decisive action to assuage the concerns of our residents most impacted by the escalating raids. Now, the recent wrongful detainment of a father at a Garden Grove school last week illustrates this point. Every arrest, detainment, and deportation sends ripples across an entire community. The children are especially affected by memories of their parents being ripped away by masked men, and that sense of fear and anxiety have far-reaching consequences that harm all of us. As sons and daughters of Vietnamese refugees, we at Viet Rise acutely understand the trauma that persists in our communities and families through the pain of separation. Now, we understand that the resolution is the beginning of a community dialogue, not the end. Beyond this resolution, we ask that you add a Know Your Rights information page to the city website and host community events like legal clinics and workshops, similar to what other cities have done. We're excited that Councilmember Cindy Tran, who we spoke with earlier today, she wants to provide those resources to the community. And we look forward to working together with all of you to provide a stronger, safer Garden Grove together. Thank you.
All right, my next three speakers, Amara Tan Chung, Julie Nguyen, and Sophie Tran.
Sentua, Honorable City Council members, I am Amara Tan Chung, resident of District 5. I was born here in Garden Grove as a child of immigrants, refugees, so I know how hard it can be to grow up in an immigrant family. The difficulties of earning a living, finding a home, providing food, protecting your sense of identity, and having access to vital public goods. But my parents work hard to provide a safe home for me to grow up in. This is the situation that children of undocumented immigrants similarly face, but they also face the danger of losing their families due to ICE raids. Children are in the most vulnerable part of their lives and need safe, stable families to thrive, but ICE has been making our community less safe. Therefore, I appeal to the City Council to adopt a resolution in Agenda Item 12 that reaffirms promoting the peace and harmony of our multi-ethnic, multicultural community and protecting all of its residents. I hope that in addition to this resolution, the city will extend this protection to public spaces. Although federal authorities may enter public spaces, we have to think of ways to restrict their access. As some state bills like SB 48 and SB 841, which are pending in the state Senate, suggest, the city could try a similar thing by designating parts of schools, libraries, homeless shelters, and domestic violence shelters as technically non-public but still open to residents that these places serve to prevent entry from ICE without a warrant and protect our residents. These public spaces help immigrant families to learn, connect, and be safe, improving mental health and community safety, but he can't have that function as long as there's a possibility that ICE may enter. Another way that the city can do more to help its residents is by funding community aid and public spaces for immigrant families to increase our community's safety and well-being. This should be doable if the city can allocate funds for 5 new police vehicles, so I appeal to the council to reconsider its use of municipal funds. Please, we have to at least try something. 감사합니다.
Julie?
Good evening, Mayor and City Council member. Hi again, my name is Julie, and there are a couple demands that I and many others are asking you to take into effect immediately. But before I begin, I want to acknowledge fellow Garden Grove residents who have showed up to protect and care for our immigrant brothers and sisters. After the devastating raid that took place at the Garden Grove Home Depot on August 16th, where they detained 4 jornaleros, and then the next day at the Chapman Car Wash on August 17th, where they detained 6 more workers, our community members immediately and effectively got together and collaborated on how we could implement a safe system to protect our day laborers. I learned that resolution number 12 was proposed by Councilmember Arestegui, and honestly, I'm disappointed by the minimal action taken since the last couple meetings. Although it is the smallest victory, if passed, that we finally got, your words do not matter if it's not shown through actions. We demand that the resolution is passed. We demand funding for food, rent, and expenses for our impacted workers. We demand cooling centers, libraries, and community centers to be safe for our undocumented and unhoused residents. We demand accountability and transparency from ICE agents. We demand that the City of Garden Grove alert our residents if there is ICE presence in the area. Yesterday, ICE raided multiple car washes and Home Depots in different cities, but it is thanks to Garden Grove residents who have been on the ground and personally connecting with our jornaleros, we were able to warn them to go home for the day. It is thanks to the Garden Grove residents and others that funds collected through mutual aid, we were able to distribute $1,000 to our impacted day laborers to ease their rent, bills, and get food for the month. Thank you, everybody. Residents shouldn't have to shoulder the entire burden of protecting vulnerable residents. Yes, the grassroots actions we have taken have been successful, but the City Council can institutionalize those protections and create long-term safety plans that only volunteers can sustain for so long. The City Council, as a representative of the people, has a duty to safeguard all its constituents, especially those at risk. Thanks.
Sophie Tran?
Good evening, Garden Grove City Council. My name is Sophia Tran, and I'm a student that goes to school every day in your city's district. But before I start, I wanted to thank the council members who have been accessible, shown up for our schools and students, and have worked to make Garden Grove a sanctuary for its residents. Supporting this resolution, or Resolution 12, is the least that can be done, and the school's district's responsibility is no less than the city's. Less than a week ago, a father was wrongfully arrested by ICE at a GGUSD elementary school, and when I heard it, I immediately thought of my parents, hardworking and earnest people. And for many students like me, schools are a safe haven. They're a sanctuary, and I show up so that I can learn and so that I can grow. And this behavior, this intruding into a space that was meant to protect its students and families, is predatory and cruel. And no child should ever have to choose between education or their loved ones. GGUSD prides itself on its pillars, a beautiful and powerful mission of uplifting student well-being and lifelong success. But in times like these, we need to see those values put into practice. And so I strongly urge you to use your vote to stand with our families. Thank you.
All right, up next we have Luis Gomez, Morgan McKeegan, and Nicholas Dibbs. Yes. Mr. Gomez, yes.
Good evening, City Council members. I'm here to speak on behalf of Agenda Item 9. I am with Rexford Industrial. We are the property owner of the property on Knott Street. I apologize, I don't have my notes, so I don't have the address. I'm here tonight to speak in favor
Sir,
of...
I apologize. It's my fault. I didn't realize that you were speaking under the public hearing. Would you prefer to wait until
I
item
was-
9?
I was
That's
a
fine.
little thrown off.
Yes, I apologize. I'll hold on to your card. Duly noted. I'll put you under for a public hearing. So sorry, sir. All right. So Morgan, you're up next.
Hello, Council. My name is Morgan McCaig, and I am a Garden Grove resident. I am a teacher. I am last time I told you it was going to be I just got hired, but I've had 2 weeks of school. So thank you for your smiles last time. So I work with a lot of humans, and I do not think humans should be valued as a dollar sign. But I know that this sentiment is not shared by everyone, and I know that it happens when we're looking at spreadsheets and stuff. We do become dollar signs. So I want to point out we are in a city that we have lots of resorts, and we get tax revenue from these resorts. So in 2024, Investel Harbor Resorts brought in I'm really bad at numbers, guys. 138,923,000. Anyways, it's 138 million. I won't. It's a lot. Landmark Hotels brought in 89,447,000. So I could round that up to 90 million. Yeah, let's do that. 90 million. So who works at these resorts? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, many of these jobs depend on our immigration and visa systems. So a lot of these jobs, Councilmember Joe, would depend on immigration workers to run them. So if we're getting all this money from our immigration system, I think we should support them, because I know for a fact that these hotels do not have everybody working there documented. And that's a big issue, not an issue that I think can be met by this council. I think that we deserve a system where workers have dignity and do not have to worry about the immigration status at work. But the reality is that these hotels could not survive if they didn't have the labor of undocumented immigrants. So think about how much money we make in tax revenue from these businesses, from these resorts. Think about who's helping that happen, who's keeping it clean, who's helping the continental breakfast, okay? So let's support them, let's stand up for them, and let's think about some actions, some mutual aid funds, some food, direct food, and I know there's food banks, but sometimes people can't go to those because of their status and fear. So, thank you, Council.
Nicholas Dibbs.
Mayor Kloffenstein, members of the City Council, my name's Nicholas Dibbs. I'm a teacher educator. I want to bring, first off, support for agenda item 11, which is on restricting advertisement of alcohol near schools and parks and other areas where there are children. I just bring to your attention that it needs to go further than just alcohol. We have a crisis of mental health in our communities, and I mentioned in a past council meetings that we had a 5th grader commit suicide who was attending a GGUSD school, Hazard Elementary. She was being bullied on Instagram, according to an article that quoted 3 of her classmates. So we do, and that was in October of 2019, before the pandemic. Senator Alex Padilla wrote a letter to Craig Durfee that in support of the Kids Online Safety and Privacy Act. So he's in favor of that. And then I'm giving you a copy again for the second time of the mental health resolution from the County of Orange Health Department in Hillsborough, North Carolina. So what we're asking for is that you allow, and I'm running out of time, and the problem is, I'm going to bring this up, that you're not allowing people who can't be here, who have disabilities, so please allow that. So Mr. Durfee has recorded this message.
My name's Trey Durfee, founder of Parents Right to Develop Children with 2 websites on social media arm. This ordinance 29669, the consumption of alcohol near the school is seriously flawed. You look at 1, 2, 3, 4, the whereas underage drinking is not only illegal, but negative impacts on youth community overall contribute to a higher level of accidents, injury, impaired judgment, and impaired with brain development, increased risk in interpersonal violence and academic behavior problems in a school, higher rate of future illicit drug and alcohol. Mayor, you have a problem with your communications with your staff on this because we've been warning you for decades of this harm, and you're ignoring a school, you're ignoring with esports, and they're not following the education law, SB 2-421. You have disconnection with LA Times in terms of green space for wellness. I think it's time for a reform of our government locally because this is child abuse going on. And I advise Congress and the state, and my website speaks volume. This has caused a delay, and an industry doesn't want their home. I encourage you to put a resolution before you from North Carolina and update your child abuse and your mental health resolutions as soon as possible. Any question, I'd like to call me and speak to me, my representative, Philip, 714-321-8238.
Okay, so basically, can you please allow people who can't be here physically to call in and make comments? Because there's a lot of people in this city who are disabled and elderly, and they can't be here in person. Thank you.
Nick. All right, my last 2 cards of the evening. I believe this is Rodrigo Garay?
Good thing the time is not starting. Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Rodrigo Garay, council member Aristegui. I want to thank you for taking the time and giving the resolution 12. I hope it does pass. One thing that I do want to say is, though, words are beautiful, actions are supreme. So I hope that Garden Grove, the city of Garden Grove, does take action, not just in words. But I know that the history of Garden Grove comes from obviously being part of Mexico at one point in time. So this was considered obviously the Santa Ana Valley through the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo. So that alone itself, with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, it gives us those rights of being able to be respected as not only indigenous people of the land, but also as people that were here when this was Mexico. One thing that comes to mind with all the immigration that's going on, redadas or raids that are coming in, is that it comes to mind when the White Roses were up against the Nazis, and they were, just a bunch of kids doing the right thing and putting themselves on the line. And we all know the history of that. If you don't, I recommend that you read the White Rose history or watch the movie. Wacom Elementary. I live off of Beach Boulevard and Chapman Avenue, right next to the Home Depot there. District 1, I discovered that was part of District 1. I am getting more and more involved. Like I said, I mind my own business, but because now this is happening in my areas and there's coming into my neighborhoods, I've had to walk some parents to Wacom Elementary because they're afraid of what's going on with the race. With the raids. I've had to walk parents to the St. Polycarp because they're afraid to go to church. So again, this just keeps in mind. And so one thing that I want to say, since, I'm not very religious, but I am very spiritual. I was taught by my mom saying this: Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Just listen to those words right there. On earth as it is in heaven. If you believe in that, I hope that you do what you believe heaven is here on earth. Okay? And so making it as heavenly as possible for all human beings, for our immigrant brothers and sisters that are here working hard. Not only that, but we have to also think into consideration the sanctity and sovereignty of the human being. They have sovereignty and they have dignity. Sometimes what happens with the courts here and with the immigration is that they're blurring the line of humanity and sovereignty of that human being. That's why they're able to take them to different places and forget about them. Let's not allow that to happen. Tax revenues, they bring a substantial amount of positive contributions to not only the cities but the United States. About $579 billion. That's what, with the B, in revenue. So again, they deserve to be protected.
Sir, your
And
time is
so,
up.
thank you. So I want to say, ICE out of OC. ICE out of OC.
Thank you, sir.
ICE out of OC.
My last speaker card is Nicole Jaimes.
All right. Hi, I'm Nicole Jaimes, and I'm going to talk about the proposed resolution, which is just kind of a rehash of what was done in 2017. And so after kind of listening to a lot of these comments and also seeing, since we've kind of redistricted everything and we have districts now, we do a lot of, this month is this and that month is that. But what do we actually do with that? Absolutely nothing. So this resolution is just kind of like it makes people feel good in a way, but doesn't really do anything. Because it's not really, in my opinion, it's not really our place to really do anything. So if people need support, well then I'm sure there's nonprofits that could go out, here's legal support. So what we're kind of happening is when we do free giveaways, which some of you guys did, and you segregated the population to only those who made the choices to come here. And as I tell my children, choices ripple, whether good or bad. One decision you make will spread out and either impacts you right now or maybe impacts you later. And that's what some people are experiencing. But if we're going to say that one segment of the population, because they don't have papers, they need food and money and this, but what about our DV families? Where is our city support for them? What about our families who are elderly? Maybe they can't afford their property taxes. Where's our support for them? What about our families who have cancer or they're ill? Where is our support for them? But yet people who come here, who made a choice, right? And some of us are not reading kind of the budget, right? The fiscal year starts July 1st. And depending on which hotel we made an agreement with, we're giving them a lot of the money back. And who takes up most of the money? I personally, if I have an emergency, I want somebody to show up. I don't want to be like, well, our car was fucked up, so sorry.
Watch your language, please.
No. So I have my right to speak how I want to speak.
And there's a tact and decorum that I expect in these chambers. Thank you.
And I'm going to speak how I want. Thank you.
That's your decision.
So, yeah. Where was I before I was interrupted? So we need to kind of make a choice, right? Which population do we serve? Do we have a community as a whole? Or are we segregating and choosing that way? Because when we make resolutions like this and we prioritize one segment of the population, we're saying that their issues are more important than everybody else. And that's not right. So community is everybody. So if we're going to give help for one section, we got to give help for everyone. And can we afford to do that? I mean, probably not. If we're going to give free food for one section, we got to do free food for everybody. Everyone's hurting in some point in time, and that's different for every single one. But to say that this segment is somehow more important because of choices that they made, yes, it's sad what happens to kids, but kids go through a lot of things.
Your time is up.
All right, thank you.
All right, that ends oral communication. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and reconvene. And that will take us on to the successor agency. Madam Clerk, if we could please have roll.
Member Brigham?
Here.
Member Nguyen?
Here.
Member Tran?
Here.
Member Dovin?
Present.
Member Aristegui?
Here.
Vice Chair Muñetón?
Here.
And Chair Klopfenstein.
Here. We've already held oral communication, so we will move on to the consent calendar. I have one item, which is receive and file the minutes from August 12th.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, any matters from successor agency members? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn, and that will take us to the sanitary district. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Member Brigham?
Here.
Member Nguyen?
Here.
Member Dovin?
Present.
Member Muñetón?
Here.
Member Aristegui?
Here.
Vice President Tran?
Here.
And President Klopfenstein.
Here. Again, we held oral communication already, so that moves us on to consent. I have 2 items that we can take simultaneously unless someone would like to pull an item.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, and that takes us on to items for consideration. Item 3.
Item 3 is an award of contract to CEM Construction Corporation for project number CP 1363000-SSRP Phase 2, Sewer Main Replacement Project 1. And Deputy Director Sam Kim is here to provide that report.
Yes. Madam President and members of the Sanitary District Board, tonight the District Board is being asked to award a contract to CEM Construction Corporation for the construction of sewer system Rehabilitation Plan Phase 2 Sewer Main Replacement Project number 1. This project is one of the priority projects identified in the district's sewer system Rehab Plan Phase 2. This project covers the areas south of Garden Grove Boulevard, west of Harbor Boulevard, north of Trask Avenue, and east of Brookhurst Street. The project consists of replacing and upsizing approximately 1,651 linear feet of 10-inch and 2,679 linear feet of 8-inch sewer main pipes. It also includes the construction of 2 new manholes, modification of 24 existing manholes, 81 sewer lateral reconnections, and 2 sewer lateral extensions. 8 bids were received and opened on July 15, 2025. The lowest responsive bidder was CEM Construction Corporation, with a total bid amount of $2,658,385. This bid is within the current project budget. The licenses and references of the contractor have been reviewed and verified by staff, and all other documentation is in order. There is no impact to general fund. This project is included in the 2025-2026 capital improvement budget and will be financed with the sewer funds. Should the district board approve the contract today, construction can begin in September and be completed by the end of May 2026. This concludes staff's report, and staff is here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions?
Hi, Sam.
Hello.
I know. So first and foremost, I'm really glad that these improvements are taking place. They're taking place in an area in District 5 as well as District 6, where there are a lot of people that live there, along Stewart Drive in particular, because it's a lot of apartments. And then the section off of Paloma. They're right next to New Hope near Peters Elementary. So seeing as this project is starting the 22nd of September, I'm wondering if during these construction efforts, there will be any attempts to mitigate any potential conflicts with, school pickup and drop off, just to make sure that there isn't a crazy amount of traffic along New Hope during those times.
Yes, we're going to try our best, and we're going to take a look at the traffic plans that is submitted, and then working hours, try to accommodate as much as possible.
Thank you, Sam.
Any other questions, or I'll entertain a motion?
Move.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion receives, 7 yes votes.
All right, any matters from board members? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn and go back to the city council meeting. And now that takes us to the balance of our consent calendar. I can take this one on motion unless there is an item someone would like to pull tonight. I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Sir, can you state who is the second? Thank you.
Councilmember Tran.
Motion receives, 7 yes votes.
All right, very good. That moves us on to public hearing, item 9.
This evening, we do have a public hearing for adoption of resolutions for approval of General Plan Amendment Number GPA-002-2025 to establish sub-areas A and B within the industrial commercial mixed-use land use designation and establish a maximum of 0.55 floor area ratio for industrial uses within sub-area B, adoption of a negative declaration for the project, and approval of site plan number SP-159-2025 to facilitate the development of the Harbinger Motor Mezzanine Project located at 12821 Knott Street in Garden Grove. And Senior Planner Preet Kaskla is here to provide that presentation.
Good evening. The applicant is requesting approval of a general plan amendment to increase the maximum allowable floor area ratio, or FAR, for industrial uses on 5 parcels located on the existing IC, or industrial commercial mixed use, land use designation along Knott Street. The applicant is also requesting site plan approval to construct a mezzanine interior to an existing industrial building located at 12821 Knott Street. The subject item was originally scheduled for Planning Commission on June 5th, and was renoticed for the June 19th and July 17th Planning Commission meetings. On July 17th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the request to City Council by a vote of 4-0 with 3 commissioners absent. At the July 17th Planning Commission meeting, members of the public raised concerns with the revised public notices, namely that both addresses and parcel numbers were not included for all affected parcels. The public notices for tonight's City Council did include both addresses and parcel numbers where available for all properties associated with the request. To facilitate the project, a general plan amendment is proposed to establish sub-areas A and B within the existing IC land use designation. The general plan amendment does not change the industrial and/or commercial intent of the land use designation and would not authorize residential uses on any of these properties. The general plan amendment would also increase the floor area ratio, or FAR, for industrial uses on certain parcels in the IC land use designation. For those that are not aware, FAR is the ratio of building area to the overall lot size. 5 parcels, including the property on which the mezzanine addition is proposed, would be included within the new IC sub-area B, which would allow a maximum industrial FAR of 0.55. The maximum commercial FAR for these sites would remain the same. Sub-area B would be centered at the intersection of Knott Street and Acacia Avenue. Sub-area A would be comprised of all other parcels within the IC land use designation. The maximum FAR for these commercial and industrial uses would remain unchanged. Sub-area A would be found in 3 locations throughout the city: at Valley View Street and the 22 freeway, along Euclid Street between Westminster Avenue and Hazard Avenue, and the northeast corner of Hasser Street and Garden Grove Boulevard. To reiterate, there are no changes to any of these parcels in sub-area A. This is just a change in name only. The proposed mezzanine office addition would be constructed wholly within an existing industrial building located on the northwest corner of Knott Street and Acacia Avenue at 12821 Knott Street. The subject site is currently occupied by Harbinger Motors. The site abuts a wedding venue to the north, office uses and the 22 freeway to the south, single-family residential uses to the west, and industrial uses and a church to the east across Knott Street. The construction of the mezzanine office space would occur fully within the existing building. The proposed mezzanine office space addition would increase the FAR of the property to 0.53. Alterations are not proposed to the footprint of the building or to the existing parking lot. The new mezzanine, highlighted on yellow on the screen, would connect the existing mezzanine space and the existing two-story office area that fronts Knott Street. Ancillary areas including restrooms, a boardroom, and smaller meeting rooms would be provided in the new mezzanine, in addition to open office areas. The proposed mezzanine would not require an increase to the building height. New windows matching the existing windows would be provided along the west elevation. Following the mezzanine addition, a total of 184 parking spaces would be required for the use. The subject site currently provides 198 striped parking spaces, which would be a surplus of 14 spaces. While the property does meet the minimum requirements by code, the nature of the Harbinger Motors operations has at times required additional parking. In addition, or in an effort to limit impacts to the adjacent neighborhoods, Harbinger Motors has recently entered into a lease at 12700 Knott Street, across the street from the subject site. The site is intended to serve as a warehouse for certain products and materials, as well as provide additional staff parking. Additionally, Harbinger Motors has an informal agreement with Calvary Chapel, also across the street, across Knott Street, to use parts of their parking lot when the church is not in service. Harbinger Motors is currently working with staff to create a formal shared parking agreement that would conform to municipal code requirements. A condition of approval is also proposed to require adequate parking for the use. The project has been reviewed by the Community Development Department and the Public Works Department and meets all applicable local and state code requirements. Therefore, staff recommends that the City Council take the following action: conduct a public hearing, adopt a resolution adopting a negative declaration for the project, adopt a resolution approving the general plan amendment, and adopt a resolution approving the site plan subject to the recommended conditions of approval. This concludes staff's report, and we are available for questions.
Thank you. Before I open the public hearing, colleagues, are there any questions of staff? Okay. Seeing none, then I will go ahead and open the public hearing. I do have several cards. The first one is Zane Keith. Oh, and one more.
Hello, how are you? I was intending to go second with a colleague of mine, but since I got called first, I'll talk mostly about the parking that's been brought up in the planning hearing and brought up again today. So just to run through a couple of numbers Preet just put on the screen. There's 198 stalls on Knott Street. On the site. It's actually, we've done studies about adding parking. There's a potential to add another 100 stalls on the site in the loading dock that we don't use. It's not a shipping and receiving building. It's used for a different purpose, so we have extra stalls we can use there. If we need to, over at Knott Street, there's on 12700, there's 65 stalls, and then we have the 50 stalls at Calvary Chapel. So in total, we have access to 400 stalls plus if we need it. It was brought up in the prior meeting about the neighborhood. We've since solved that problem, getting our inventory off the site, out of the parking stalls. And so I was there today. There was plenty of extra stalls on site. There was no issues. To address employee quantities, that was also brought up in the planning meeting. So there's 264 active employees at the business. About 150 go to the site now between vacations, work from home, et cetera, et cetera. So we got about 150 people there every day. And after the expansion, our plan is to be right at that 200 mark. Now you have, of course, guests and visitors that come in and go out. And so that's where we have access to these extra parking at the building across the street, at the chapel. And if we do need to add some parking stalls in the back, we can make sure to do that. So we believe that, we heard the concerns of the planning, and we've made sure to plan on our end to solve for those going forward. That's it.
Thank you. Which one of you would like to go next? Ben or, okay.
Hi, my name is Ben DeSastre. I'm the Chief Financial Officer of Harbinger Motors. So first of all, thank you for hosting myself and the company today at the City Council meeting. I've been the CFO of the company since 2022. I'm not one of the founders of the company, but I'm proud to say I was the first angel investor in this business. I remember when the founders pitched me the idea of Harbinger, they didn't even have PowerPoint. We were having pancakes in a diner, and pretty proud to see like what the business has become over the last 4 years. We love Garden Grove, and we plan to continue to grow here in a sustainable way. So what is Harbinger? So we're a 4-year-old business that moved from LA County, its headquarters and our factory, down to Garden Grove in 2023. We are a manufacturer of medium-duty trucks, but also produce high-tech battery packs and electric motors. We're the only trucking company in the world that is doing this themselves versus buying it from other suppliers across the world. And we've started selling those high technology systems to other companies in other industries outside of trucking also. You are probably starting to see some of our trucks. They underpin delivery trucks from FedEx, Coca-Cola, Thomas English Muffins, but also shuttle buses and RVs by the end of the year. These vehicles are better for the environment. They're 0 to low emissions. We have hybrid electric vehicles as well as battery electric vehicles. And they make no noise, unlike some of the legacy trucks. What's the current business status and our fundraising history is something that I was asked to comment on. So my main role at the company is to make sure that this company has capital to pay for payroll and continue to grow this business. We've successfully raised over or close to $500 million over the last 4 years, including our largest investment round this year, which has allowed us to finance the next growth phase of this business. Our shareholders are some of our customers, some of the largest delivery fleets in the country for package, beverage, beer, bread, people like that. And the company leased this building in July of 2023, moving from the Los Angeles County. We haven't really looked back. We really love it here. 2025 is a big development year for us and a lot of changes that we're trying to adapt to, in that we went from an R&D company to a company that started production this year. So this is our first year of revenue. We had no revenue previous, and proud to say that we'll probably do close to $100 million in revenue this year in our first year. In the past 2 years, this building has gone from an empty shell to the headquarters for 264 people, as Zane was saying. And we're currently producing about 4 vehicles per shift per day. So that's about $200 million of production capacity per year for this year. We now leased a second building across the street to store inventory, but also to store some of the finished chassis so that we could make room for employee parking into the building. We also secured additional parking spots through that new building that we leased. For us, the future vision of this business is over the next 2 years to take this company public, something that probably you guys will be proud of, via an IPO. We plan on staying in Garden Grove and probably to continue to lease more buildings in the area as the business continues to grow, to provide high-tech manufacturing jobs for these battery packs and these electric motors, because this area is one of the only areas in the world where you have talent that knows how to do this. These are high-paying jobs focused on high-quality products made in America. I'm also proud to say that we provide economic opportunities for young people. We have 27 interns right now at Harbinger. We've offered it over our inception. 87% of our interns have been offered job offers, and 100% of them have accepted these job offers. We spend a lot of money in the community as a business and with our employees. We cater lunch every day for all the employees at Harbinger, and the last year have spent $1.2 million just on lunches for the community, with many of these restaurants being Garden Grove-based restaurants. Those were my notes. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gomez, it's your turn.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Appreciate the time. Appreciate to be asked to come back up. Thank you for that opportunity. Again, I am with the Rexford Industrial. We are the property owner of 12821 Knott Avenue. So we're technically the landlord. We own 720 buildings in Southern California, and our business is focused primarily on Southern California. We work with 1,600 plus business partners throughout Southern California, so we know a good tenant when we see one. I'm here today to speak in favor of Harbinger Motors, and we ask that the council consider and and approve the proposed GPA, negative deck, and site plan. Harbinger Motors is headquartered here in Garden Grove. I think that's a great opportunity for the city. You just heard from the CFO. I think that's very exciting. I'm a former economic development person. I worked for the city of Huntington Beach for about 5 years, and I would be extremely excited if I were the city council tonight. I think this is a great opportunity to see them grow and help nourish that growth. With that, I do want to point out that, yeah, they have had some growing pains. I know that the parking has been an issue for some of the neighbors, but just take this into consideration. 2025, not only for Harbinger Motors, but for many of our partners, has been a difficult year, dealing with tariffs, extra inventory that piles up. Things happen, particularly when you're a growing business. So just want you guys to take that into consideration as you make your decision. We're in big favor of the tenant. We think they've done an amazing job, and we look forward to continue working with them. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have 2 more cards. Tony Flores.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. I sent you written communications earlier, maybe yesterday, on this particular subject. There's a few notes on here. Hopefully you've had a chance to read it because it is pertinent to what's going on here. The citizens that I've talked to, we basically object to this hearing going forward. And unfortunately, it's not so much Harbinger that we have the problem with, but it's the process. Not quite sure if our city staff is being quite transparent. I got involved in this because this notice contained Valley View, which is, you know, a mile or two away from this proposed site, from 12821 Knott Street. But as we started getting into this, it was interesting. Again, I think Harbinger is kind of caught in the middle here with our objections. But if you look at the public notices, all 4 of them are different. They are not consistent. They are all different, have different information on it. The staff reports are different, inconsistent. Government codes, I won't quote them right now, but they're here. At the time of the July 17, 2005 public hearing for the Planning Commission, that General Plan Amendment -02225 contains like 3 other areas that are not part of the of the project description or project location. It's not on there. Now, when it came up, they stuck in different parcel numbers with no addresses. The ones tonight have addresses with parcel numbers. Very, very confusing. Again, violation of some government codes there. In that public hearing for under the Planning Commission, we learned that there was an issue with parking. And again, we wish every business in Garden Grove success, so long as it doesn't affect the quality of life in our city. I personally walked that neighborhood on Stanford, west of Knott, and there's some problems with parking, has been for quite some time. Another question that I have is if the church is leasing or selling their parking spaces, then theoretically they've reduced their parking, which is going to affect what's in their contract with the city. The information on the public notice hearing for tonight is not the same. That was in front of the Planning Commission on July 17th, 2025. With that being said, there is a case that's out there. It's the Third Court of Appeal, 3rd District of California. Well, there's some differences, there are some similarities, but in that case, and I'll quote it, what matters in the final analysis of the plaintiff's construction of sections, Government Code Section 65090, 65094, 65856, furthers the state's policy and legislature's intent that the public be involved in the planning process and are afforded the opportunity to respond clearly to define alternative objectives, policies, and actions. For those reasons, we do object. Hopefully you'll take that in consideration. If not, we'll look at our options up to and including filing a complaint with the proper authorities and or litigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Raber.
Hi, I'm Tom Raber. I'm here because of Harbinger Motors located at 12821 Knott Street. First of all, there are 2 parcels on that property. One of the parcels is not on any of the 3 public hearing documentation. APN 215-014-01 is 12821 Knott Street. The other one, APN 130-501-36, is not. That is the old Brady Way. I found the parcel number by simply calling up the Orange County assessor. I got the values of either the square footage or the acres. The original parcel is 6.8799 acres. The old Brady Way is 40,920 square feet. Total is 7.91 acres. All the documentations show 7.97, which is 0.06 difference, which is 2,613 square feet. Does that seem a lot? No, not really. But when you go ahead and add in the FAR, the floor area ratio, that little bit will either put them over or under. The floor area ratio is as simple. You take the sides, you get that square footage, and any other mezzanine floor is added additional. With the numbers that Orange County Assessor gave to me, they are already now over the FAR, which is at 0.05. We got to be very, very calm right now because Garden Grove already has Project 2040 already documented, high dense living. And by going ahead and adding a 0.05 so somebody can have a little bit bigger mezzanine is not right. Second of all, there's only one applicant, not four, like Brett said. There's one. The other ones are pawns because you cannot change a FAR unless there's multi. So we need to stick together because I really don't want to live in Garden Grove once it becomes a high density place. And just so you know, the coincidence of Shop Off trying to buy the property across the street from me and this coming up, that's why I'm here. We really don't want Shop Off here. They already messed up for other cities. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, is that everyone that wants to speak on this item? Anybody else? Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to real quick.
Sure.
Oh, if you don't know me, my name's Victor.
Hi, Victor.
And I just want to say something. I appreciate both sides of the party because he cordially came up and did outline some really good points. I was completely unaware of both sides' arguments. I really like that. Everyone's been doing their homework. I appreciate that. One thing I would like to emphasize, though, is because I am an advocate for the poor, the disabled. Regarding parking, I've noticed that the density of Garden Grove and every other city has been increasing with disabled, seniors, and younger people that are disabled. And I'd like it to be encouraged that the parking, if it is approved, accommodates additional disabled access and parking. Because, like I said, the disabled personnel population is exploding. So any small thing that can be done for, let's say, parking on private businesses should take that into consideration. But I applaud these gentlemen, all of them, for coming up and politely duking it out.
Thank you. All right, with that, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. Colleagues, this is the time for discussion. Mayor Pro Tem? Or, okay. Okay.
If the applicants doesn't mind coming up, I'd like a couple of questions with you, either one of them. I'm hearing three things that kind of come up and made an impression on me as to where the pushback against your growing. And we don't want to punish you for growing. You're a bit of a victim of your own success at this point. One is parking. And I want to a commitment that you won't be parking in the residence area. I think I heard some of that, but you were there today and you noticed there are a lot of stalls available, but that doesn't mean that it's gonna be like that every day. So we have to kind of bake it in, maybe as a condition of approval, that you won't be burdening the neighborhood with extra parkings and their residents. The second is, I hear some inconsistency with addresses and APN. I see that as more of an administrative, maybe error, which can be easily remedied or fixed. And I don't see that as holding back the project. But I don't know why it's like that, why there's the inconsistency that's been raised by the people who object. But is there anything you're hiding with the one applicant versus 4 applicant? Has to be multi, this and that. What are you trying to get around? If there's anything that, if we vote you up and then we find out later there's some hidden factors we didn't know about, I just want to be straight up, so I'll let you guys answer.
On the first one, yeah, our employees are not parking in the neighborhood, and we actually have security from the building that is ensuring that that's not happening, and as a condition, that would not be a problem.
On the second component, I might need some support from Preet on the applicant technical components, but before we had leased the property, Brady Way went all the way in the back, and so that street was vacated, and so there is some complexity as it relates to the back of the property that has now, basically gobbled up Brady Way. So there was some discrepancies in the site square footage, but the reference to 7.91 or 7.97, that actually is not true. Regardless if it's the smaller or bigger, our 0.55 FAR works. So the math works either way. That's not an issue. And I think some of the APN numbers are related to that vacation of Brady Way a number of years ago, before we leased the property.
Right.
In terms of noticing and why there appears to be inconsistencies, number one, the original initial notice complied with state law and our requirements, but I think members of the community misunderstood whether this was we were increasing density for residential versus an industrial commercial property. And you heard again today that this would increase density in residential. Well, FAR is only applies to commercial and industrial properties, floor area ratio. For residential, we look at number of dwellings per acre, and completely different standard. And the general plan and the zoning code have completely different standards for density applicable to residential versus density applicable to commercial industrial properties. The reason why we added additional information in the subsequent notices is because it was requested both by members of the public and also more information we thought was better than less information. So we went ahead and added more information than what the law required. I want to point out that even in some of the information that was submitted to you yesterday and today, government code says that the notice will include a general description in text or diagram of the location of the real property subject to the entitlements, right? It appears to me that the residents want an exact, full disclosure where the law only requires a general. And the fact that you have members of the public that actually went to planning commission and came to a city council public hearing is an indication that the notice did comply and actually did what it was supposed to do. Notify individuals of the public that we were having this hearing for land use entitlement applicable to this particular property.
Great. Do you have anything to add?
Not specifically, no. I think Omar summed it up pretty well.
Okay, now on the ADA parking, is that baked into part of the project?
So again, this project is not touching the parking lot on site whatsoever. They meet parking by code. So as Zane was mentioning, there is opportunity to perhaps add additional spaces in the future. So if they were to do that, they would have to come up with a plan, submit it for review, and at that time we would assess the ADA. But as it stands right now, as part of this project, as it stands today out there, it meets ADA compliance for ADA stalls.
Yeah, in addition to that, the California Building Code has its own accessibility requirements, and the parking is actually governed by the California Building Codes, which every development has to comply with. Not just the industrial and commercial, but also the residential.
Okay, my last question is, because I have a lot of, I didn't read a lot of it, you know, it's very technical, so I just want a general idea of why this expansion, why the mezzanine, what is the need that you're trying to meet?
Extra office space for the workers.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I looked on your drawings and the floor plan, looks like it's just more offices.
Correct. So we're expanding office space into the manufacturing warehousing area in the back through a second story mezzanine, basically.
It's not so Elon Musk can visit with his team, right? I want you to be the next Tesla, by the way.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, and thank you guys. I don't have any questions of you, so you can sit down. My general thought here, you know, Harbinger came into a location that used to be a gymnasium, basically. And there was a lot of community parking issues associated with that, because they were charging for parking and people didn't want to pay the $5, so they'd go park in the neighborhood, and you know, there was a lot of complaints. Quite frankly, the complaints almost dried up when Harbinger came in. I mean, there was one or two in the early stages, but far less than when it was a gym. So the parking situation has actually improved. Is it perfect? No. They're gonna be working on different things. You know, Harbinger's our auto manufacturer. I think the only one in Garden Grove for sure. And they bring a lot of high-paying jobs to our community for our residents, skilled labor, and you know, they do a lot. We really want them to be successful in our community. There was some issues with the notifications for the meetings. In my humble opinion, I believe it, I'm gonna ask our city attorney, there was 4 different mailers sent out to the community at different times on this. Did those comply with state law?
Yes, and as I indicated, the first one complied with state law, and the subsequent ones, we continue to add additional information.
Right, but did they all basically comply with state law as far as our notification goes?
Yes.
Okay, and I agree. I think they did. I do think they comply with state law, but do I think they were transparent? Were they clear? I'm sorry, but they weren't. The general public looks at those and they can't make heads or tails of it. They don't know where that lot number HK-LMNOG is. They don't know if it's next door to them or a mile down the road, you know? So the residents rightfully complained, and you heard all the grievances with the notification system. The mayor and I had discussed the same issues over and over, and I've been involved in Garden Grove either on the commissions or for over 30 years now, and it's the same complaints from the community over and over again that never get addressed. The same, hey, where is this? Why is it a number? Where's the address? Where is this? I can't read this. What is this legal thing? Why can't they just send it to me in plain language? Just the simple things that have never been addressed. It's repeatedly, that it's the same issues. And Mr. Flores and I have had discussions 20 years ago with these same issues. It just hasn't changed. The city hasn't learned. So I think it was actually the mayor's idea when we were talking, and she goes, we need to codify this with an ordinance and get this changed. And that's why I brought up last meeting that we're going to do a clarity ordinance. And I hope it addresses, well, the vast majority of what their concerns are. I don't want to punish Harbinger for this issue that hasn't been addressed for 30 years at least probably more than that, but that I'm aware of, it's not their problem. It's not their fault. And I don't want to hold them accountable. As our city attorney said, the notices are legal. Okay? They're legal, but are they transparent? Are they clear? You know, that could be debated. The city attorney himself said, look, people showed up to these meetings. So obviously they had some understanding that, you know, that it was happening. I don't know if I agree with that or not, but I want to support Harbinger. And I don't think holding them accountable for staff's perceived issues, and I'm not saying you have issues, but I don't think that's fair to Harbinger. And I don't think it's fair to the city. The parking issues are resolving one after another. And, you know, we've actually looked, we were over there, it was about 2 months ago, I guess, and we were looking at potential other solutions for any kind of growth parking and stuff. And as that comes, I mean, right now they're underparked. They could still hire more people. And that's kind of what this mezzanine's for. So they have more office space so they can hire more people. And these jobs aren't cheap jobs. These are high paying quality jobs. You know, so, and we want to make sure those jobs stay in Garden Grove. And that tax base continues to go to our city. So, with that being said, I want to give kudos to Tom Raber, Tony Flores, Scott, Sam, all the other ones that were involved in looking at all these issues and bringing them forward, because they're not wrong. They're not wrong. So, with that being said, I'd like to make the motion to approve.
May I make a quick comment?
I have some comments after that and some questions as well.
Okay.
So I will not repeat what the council already talked about, and I just want to say thank to Council Brittingham for sharing that so that we get to learn more about, you know, the detail, the background. I just want to say thank to Harbinger for coming here and let the community know about you and the thing that you offer to the community and to the city, because like for us, some of our council actually went to the opening, right? But then a lot of other residents, they don't know anything about you. And I also appreciate that the first thing you start with the parking. I know I look at the packet and the requirement was I think 189 and you go above that 190 something. So one of the things that we have the concern, or the resident already mentioned, that you have that, but then you have car that park outside, and I know you addressed that you have lock location, etc. But keep that in mind. We don't want to see that, right? We don't want to see you have the location, you have the parking, but if you park on the, you know, the road where the resident living, then that's when they have the concern. So in the future, when you grow, you know, you don't know if the church gonna allow you to, if they sell the church, whatever, but please keep that in mind. And you know, this council always support you. We want you to grow, we want you to be successful, but, and we want to be able to approve that without any issue. So thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yes, I would also want to thank the fine folks at Harbinger for coming and presenting. I agree with my colleagues. By no means should we be penalizing you for what seems to be an issue that is administrative and procedural. And to that effect, I would like to ask Preet and Omar with regards to making the changes to our notices. We understand that all of these notices complied with state law, and I actually really agree with what was proposed by Councilmember Breitigam and by Mayor Klopfenstein, because, you know, a big part of what we do up here is we try to clarify as much as possible what these processes are to our residents and lay folk that, you know, don't have their masters in planning and all that fun stuff, right? My question is, what is that going to require of us procedurally to go forward and change these things? George mentioned codifying things in our code, but are there any limitations that we know of with regards to any state law about specificity, or is this something that we're going to be able to handle in-house?
So we already looking our notices, you know, with, already with the information that we have,
Mhm.
to make sure that, you know, we provide as much information as is necessary. But I am also reviewing a draft ordinance that Councilmember Bradingham already put together, and we'll be working with them to bring an ordinance back to the City Council.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I might have my legislative bodies mixed up, but I know at somewhere there is some sort of legislation, or I don't know if it's at federal level or if it's at the state level. I might be wrong, but I do think somewhere someone is trying to draft a legislation with regards to plain language in all of the things that we do. So I don't know if that's something we could look into, and you might know more about this than I do.
I'm not aware,
Uh-huh.
but, you know, I thought that our notices
Mhm.
were in plain language,
Mhm.
but we use our code, you know, we
Mhm.
just use code language, basically, and so part of what we're gonna try and do is translate it to a non-code language. I don't know.
Oh, we might need a key.
I actually might be able to clarify. 2
Oh,
years ago,
perfect.
the State Assembly had proposed that very.
Oh, that must be what I'm thinking about.
And it failed.
Oh, no. Oh, boy.
So that's probably what you're remembering.
That's probably what I'm referencing. My follow-up question was in regard to Mr. Flores' concerns regarding Calvary Chapel and their issue with parking. I'm a parishioner at Christ Cathedral, and they share their parking with UCI Medical Center, and sometimes I have trouble finding my parking at Christ Cathedral, and I share that particular annoyance sometimes. So I am wondering where we are in terms of that deal with Calvary Chapel. When will we know the terms? And will that agreement in any way affect the attendees of Calvary Chapel from having access to parking?
Yeah, so I can actually help answer that question. So, as I mentioned before, they right now have an informal agreement, so it's just kind of, gentleman's agreement, whatever you want to call it. So they're working with us to get a formalized agreement. We do have standards in our municipal code for shared parking agreements, so whatever they come forward with, we'll have to comply with that. Part of that is they would have to do a parking demand study to see exactly how many spaces are available on the church property, at what times, especially, you would figure, Sunday during church service are going to be a lot busier than the rest of the week. So part of that study is going to show when are those parking spaces available, how many spaces. Calvary Chapel also already leases spaces to some other industrial buildings across the street as well, so it would take into all that consideration to come up with kind of the final use, what's available, what's being used, and that's what we would go off of.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Preet.
Yeah, and I want to clarify that it's not a city agreement, right? It's an agreement between two private parties. We're just a regulatory agency that
Mhm.
we review what they're proposing, and we either accept or not accept.
Okay. My final question has to do with conditions of approval, because we know that we want to make sure that we're addressing communities' concerns about parking. I'm glad to hear that a lot of these issues are being resolved. But as part of conditions of approval, are we able to condition having the corporations or the landlords notify their employees or make requests of them to remind them that this is where they should be parking, please do not park on streets?
So we do have a condition already proposed that addresses the parking. If you'd like, I can read that out specifically. All right. Okay, so it says, this is condition number 31, that in the event the development cannot accommodate the parking demand due to the impacts generated by the development at any given time, which causes a nuisance, hindrance, or problem with either on-site or off-site parking and circulation as determined by the city's community development director in his or her reasonable discretion, the applicant shall devise and implement a plan approved by the city to relieve the situation. Upon written request by the city, the applicant shall submit a plan to manage parking issues for review and approval by the Community Development Department. The plan may include, but is not limited to, reducing hours of operation, instituting an off-site parking arrangement, having on-site parking control personnel, and/or other actions that may be deemed applicable to the situation. If the city's community development director deems such action is necessary to address parking and circulation problems, such action shall be implemented within 30 days of written notice. Failure to take action shall be deemed a violation of these conditions of approval and may result in the city restricting the overall use of the facility. So that's what we have proposed. If you wanted to add additional language, additional conditions, you could.
So, but based on your reading, it sounds like we could, one of those additional conditions could be asking them to remind their employees as part of that plan, should they be asked to produce a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Preet.
And it goes to the Calvary Chapel parking agreement. So I'm just asking this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but so Calvary Chapel, by conditions of approval, or is required to have, let's say, 100 parking spots. Not that it probably has way more than that, but let's say it's required to have 100. And they have 105. They lease out 50 to another business. Is that kosher? I mean, is that allowed under the law? Because they're supposed to have 100. I mean, I could see that they'd be allowed to lease out 5, but they're required to have 100. So how can they lease out their required amount? See what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I understand. So the way our municipal code is written specifically for shared parking arrangements, agreements, it only allows for shared parking where parking is quote unquote underutilized. So there's certain thresholds of how many vacant spaces on a site at any given time is considered underutilized. Right. And for those properties, because it is having or there is less demand for those parking spaces, that's why they can be leased out to other entities.
Yeah,
so
during the week, because there's no church services going during the week. Usually Saturday and Sunday, the parking lot's full, but
exactly. Yeah, so that's part of what the parking demand study would study. We would have a traffic engineer out there. They would they will have staff out there taking counts, saying that 10 o'clock, 10 a.m. on a Monday is parked at this, and then a Sunday right during service hours it's this. So we can kind of differentiate when's the peak demand, how many spaces are available when there's less demand, and so forth.
And then is there a business license, since they're renting or leasing space, required for the church to obtain? Since they're going to be now landlords renting property, are they required to have a business license?
To my knowledge, no. That the agreement kind of serves as the agreement that authorizes them to do that.
Thank you.
Well, I say I would love to second this motion, George. I think we should call for this vote.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think we're all in agreement that we want to see Harbinger succeed. They've been a great addition to Garden Grove and to West End Industrial Complex. However, we have to take public concerns and comments very seriously, and so it looks like we have a path forward to making some changes and augmenting the way that these notices are prepared and disseminated to the community, making sure that we are a city that promotes full transparency, which I know that we all do, but continuing to move forward with just language that's easier to understand and digest as a community is a good thing. So we have a motion and a second. Call for the vote, please.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, with that, we'll move on to items for consideration. Item 10.
Item 10 is an award of contract to General Pump Company for on-call services for water well and pump station repairs, maintenance, and rehabilitation. And Deputy Director Samuel Kim is here to provide the report.
Madam Mayor and members of City Council, tonight City Council is being asked to award a contract to General Pump Company for on-call services for water wells and pump station repairs, maintenance, and rehabilitation. Each of these aging wells, pumps, and motors need to be maintained to ensure reliable operation and extend the useful life of a pump and other equipment. Over the last 5 years, the wells and pumps have been undergoing more frequent period of heavy use since the discovery of PFAS contamination. This led to more wear on the water system's pump and other equipment. Staff recommends having an on-call contractor available to quickly mobilize and address equipment repairs, rehabilitations, or emergency services to help prevent or mitigate any extended water supply disruption and meet the necessary daily water demands and fire flow demands throughout the city's service areas. City issued a request for proposal and received 2 proposals. Then staff reviewed and rated the proposals and determined that General Pump Company, Inc. was the most qualified contractor and would provide the most qualified service to the city. The on-call service agreement is for not to exceed $500,000 per year as needed basis with an option to extend additional 4 years. There is no impact to the general fund. This will be financed with the water enterprise funds. This concludes staff's report, and staff is here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments, questions from my colleagues?
I'll have a couple comments if, no? Were you?
Okay, over here, we're good.
My monitor is dead.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Any vote will have to wait unless we do it by roll call.
All right.
Okay, does anybody have any questions while we're waiting for?
No questions, just a comment.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're getting these on-call services for fast, timely repairs and services as needed. You know, when water goes down, we saw what happened in LA last month. People were having to line up for bottled water. Their water service was down for an extended period of time. And we don't want that to happen here. So I think this is great to get in front of it, have these contractors available to come out, make those quick repairs, and keep the water on. So I'll make the motion.
Great, do I have a second? I have a motion and a second. Are we good to vote? Okay, call for the vote.
Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, that moves us on to ordinances presented for a second reading. Item 11.
Yes, tonight we have the second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2969 entitled An Ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Grove amending Chapter 8.02 of Title 8 of the Garden Grove Municipal Code, revising its title and adding Section 8.020.020 for the purpose of restricting outdoor advertising of alcoholic beverages near schools, parks, and other areas frequented by children.
I just want to thank you, Council, for making this possible. Like I mentioned before, you guys are contributing to our children in the community, their future, and the influence that they could potentially have upon with murals that are not healthy for them. So thank you so much once more. I'm very proud of this, and also thank you to our city attorney for making sure that our ordinance was good to go. So with that being said, I want to start the motion to approve the last. Oh, hey.
I have a motion and a second. Any other comment? All right, call for the vote.
For the record, who was the second? Thank you. Motion received, 7 yes votes.
All right, that takes us on to matters. Item 12.
Item 12 is a discussion on adoption of a resolution reaffirming community harmony and safety as requested by Councilmember Aristegui.
Right. Hello, everyone. First and foremost, I want to thank everyone that came and shared their opinions, whether you agree with the resolution, whether you don't agree with the resolution, whether you think that there are things that can be improved. I think what matters is getting as much community feedback as possible on these types of things. Before we go forward, I want to make sure that I review some important points that we've been going over in the last few meetings. One being that a resolution is a statement of policy. So this is saying what we believe, but it is not necessarily a legally enforceable rule, because that would be an ordinance that we would be codifying. So these, what we are saying, it is not legally enforceable statements. It's not law. It's our opinions as a council and the kinds of policies through which we want to continue moving forward. But again, this is not an ordinance. two separate things. I also want to address a comment that we got from one of the speakers regarding limiting of police. I want to make sure that it is reiterated that our police officers are subject to our state law. So again, this is not an ordinance, so this is not a law. We are not limiting anyone. And as stated in this resolution, we are doubling down that our police department, our local law enforcement follows the laws that they are designated to follow, which does seem like a, reiterative statement, but I do think that in moments like these, when there's a lot of misinformation, it's important for us to clarify truly what it is that we're saying, that we do, what our role is, what our limitations are, et cetera. And one of those things is to make clear that our police department is subject to SB 54, which is the California Values Act. So in no way is this limiting or expanding what it is that our law enforcement does. So given those two clarifications, I wanted to go ahead and, so many of you guys mentioned the incident that occurred last week where we had a parent wrongfully detained at one of our elementary schools. I personally do not have kids. I have nieces and nephews that have attended the local schools, and obviously I'm a product of Garden Grove Unified School District. This is where I grew up. And in the last few months, I've had the wonderful opportunity through so many of the community aid projects that we've done to have that opportunity to reconnect with so many of my former educators. Because the beautiful thing about Garden Grove Unified School District is that our teachers are lifers, our administrators are lifers, and my former school counselors, my former principal, my former teachers from middle school, elementary school, from high school, so many of them are still here in GGUSD continuing to be committed to the community. And I'm really passionate about making sure that these people that I grew up with, that in many ways they made me, they made my good colleague Yessie over here, because we went to so many of the same schools. I want to make sure that they're also feeling safe in their workplace and that their students feel safe in the workplace. So when I heard the incident that happened last week, I was shocked and I was alarmed. And first and foremost, I want to make sure that I commend our partners at Garden Grove Unified School District. I think some folks have a misconceived notion that we're the same institutions, but we're actually separate governmental organizations. They have their own policies and their own practices. And they've been doing the really difficult work of figuring out how to address the concerns and fears of our community. And they have policies and practices that they abide by to make sure that our teachers are safe, and most importantly, our very vulnerable, our very innocent students are safe. And they followed those policies to a T. And they made sure that they did everything that they had to do to keep students safe. I also want to make sure that I commend our Garden Grove Police Department. I want to make it clear that our Garden Grove Police Department is one of our most important partners here in the city of Garden Grove within our community to make sure that our residents are safe. They're here to serve all of our community, right? And they acted very, very quickly in response to the incident that happened at the elementary school. And they were there on site, and they had all of the resources that we have with our police department available to our students to make sure that they feel better with their canines. They were there responding quickly, and they did exactly what they had to do, what was their job to do. So I want to make sure that I make it clear that they have been wonderful partners in making sure that our community feels safe. And I'm so appreciative of Chief O'Farah and just everyone there that showed up, because our parents really need that reassurance. And I'm really glad to hear from our parents within the community, especially because you guys are there on the ground all the time, and it matters to us that you guys also feel safe when you're taking your kids to and from school. And it does hurt me and it pains me to hear that folks feel like they can't even take their kids to school anymore. But it's because our things feel like they're getting so intense that I felt that it's important for us to really make a statement as a collective body because there's only so much that we individually can do to assuage the concerns of our community. I can make as many posts as I want on Instagram and be at as many community functions as I can be and help with as many community events as I can. But that does not translate to our community as much as a statement from this collective body. I think that carries value and I think that carries weight because it's important for me to make sure that our community trusts this body, that you guys know that we hear you. And so many of you guys, dozens of our residents, have come to our city council meetings. So many more of you guys have emailed us, that have talked to us at community events, have come up to me at the grocery store checkout line and asked me what we're going to be doing about this issue. And to me, that means that we need to say something. And in bringing back this resolution, I did it because in 2017, that was a completely different council body, facing a completely different set of conditions. The things that we were worried about back then, a lot of them have turned into a reality now. And this body is mostly an entirely new body. And I want to make sure that our community right now in 2025 knows that this body still stands by those same values, because we're here to serve all of the residents of Garden Grove. That's our job. All other things can be litigated by those people at their respective jurisdictions, but we want to make sure that you guys still trust us to make decisions about public safety, to make decisions about, what contracts we approve and the projects that we put out before our community, so that you guys know that we still care and that we are listening. And the bare minimum we can do is acknowledge that we hear all of the folks that have come up to us. So I encourage my colleagues to move forward with this resolution. And I would love to hear your feedback because, again, this is something that I want to reflect our collective body. And if there's stuff that you guys want to add, I'm happy to add more stuff to it. The sky's the limit here. I want to make sure that your guys' input is here as well, and that this is something that we all feel comfortable saying. Thank you, guys.
Hello, everyone. Thank you to all those who came out to speak today. Thank you for being the voice for the voiceless, for standing here in representation of your parents, your sons and daughters, your neighbors, and your community. You came seeking guidance and support from your leaders, because in moments like this, when people feel targeted or unrepresented, our community looks to us as a collective body. They look to us for reassurance, for validation, and for respect. I remember being here back in 2017, not as a council member, but as a member of the public, also searching for the same representation, the assurance that I was not alone. Today, we can all feel our community's plea for protection and support. I urge us, as a united council, to acknowledge that what is happening in our city is both real and it's frightening. We must let our community know that we see them and that we share in their fear, that we will not stand in silence. We must make clear that we do not approve of injustice. Garden Grove is and must remain a city of compassion, a city that takes pride in its diversity, and a city that stands firmly with el pueblo, our people and our community. In these uncertain times, let us not forget our purpose as a city council: to represent residents, to take action, and to remain strong as one body. When I ran for this position, it was with the promise to represent our community, to listen and to find solutions. That promise still remains. Today, I hope my colleagues will join Councilmember Ariana in this meaningful action. We can no longer sit here and ignore the reality facing our families. We must stand in solidarity with Garden Grove Unified School District and work to support our families of our cities with compassion, the respect and the dignity that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Today I see a lot of residents coming here concerned about the harmony and the safety in our Garden Grove. And to me, it's just not a resolution. It's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to confirm, to affirm that you are safe. You are away from fear and worry. And that is actually our responsibility to do it. So I will forward for this. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sure. You know, I heard a lot of the comments earlier, especially about the detention in front of the school. And the terms falsely arrested get used. And, you know, I just, people don't understand the concept of how law enforcement works. And I wanted to clarify. You know, I spent, and I'll start back 1986. I'm a young member of the U.S. Coast Guard. I'm just off work. I got invited to a party in Huntington Beach. And I had a 1967 Mustang that was just as yellow as the sun. And I'm driving it down PCH after work, going to the party. Look behind me, and there's a police officer. Okay, I look down at my speedometer. I'm not speeding, okay, you know. Go a couple blocks and whoop, there's another police officer. And then go about another half a mile and another police officer comes screeching around the corner. Now there's 3 of them behind me. And I'm like, okay, you know, and I'm 18, 19 years old. Okay, this is interesting, you know. Then they all lit up their lights. I pull over. And they got their guns pointed at me. And they're yelling at me to get out of the car with my hands up. And I have no idea what's going on. I'm complying. They have me lay down on the middle of PCH in a 100-degree day. And they got me looking like a starfish out there. And then this real heavy police officer, and I think he probably jumped 5 feet in the air, comes down on my back with his knee and handcuffs me. And I'm like, what's going on? What's happening? Shut up, shut up. Okay, they set me down on the curb. And I'm asking what's going on, why am I here? No one wanted to tell me. But I was keen enough to listen. I could hear the radio. And apparently there'd been a bank robbery. And my car fit the description. It was a yellow Mustang. I was fortunate that the guy had brown hair. My hair at the time was red. I looked like Bozo the Clown when I was a kid. But so anyway, I was sitting out there on the curb trying to figure out what the heck's going on. That's what they call a detention. It's not an arrest. And law enforcement can detain you based on what they call reasonable suspicion. This is not probable cause needed to arrest. It's a much lower standard. And I won't get into the nuances of that, but that's what happened at the Garden Grove School. The suspect was not arrested, he was detained, plain and simple. And guess who else that happens to? That happens to US citizens, because it happened to me. It happens to everybody who is suspected. If you reach that threshold of reasonable suspicion, you're gonna get detained. And they're gonna run your name, they're gonna run you through the computer, they're gonna check your background, they're gonna do all their investigation, and then when they're done, they're gonna say, we're sorry for the inconvenience, they're gonna dust you off, and they're gonna say, have a nice life. That's what a detention is. Unless they find more evidence that raises it up to reasonable suspicion, or to probable cause, And now they're going to arrest you and take you to jail and put you in a jail cell. The law limits how long you can be held in detention, and the legalities of that are, different for federal agencies as they are for the states. But I want to make it really clear, this guy was not arrested. He was detained, just like any other U.S. citizen. So I just want to bring that. And I'm thankful that Ariana brought this and established, basically, it has no teeth. There's nothing to it. And I heard a lot of the speakers say, really? Why are we even doing this? This has no teeth, nothing. Okay. Does it make anyone feel safer? Actually, no. And if it does, that's dangerous. If anybody feels safer because of this, and they're going to go out and roam the streets and get picked up by ICE, it defeats the purpose of what you're doing it for. Again, there's times when the police department has to work with the federal agencies. It was all over the news last week, LAPD. LA is a sanctuary city in a sanctuary state. But there was instance where the PD had to work with ICE. There's some loopholes there where it has to be done. Okay? You can't just say, we're not going to do it. Because quite frankly, we have to go by this California law, and the law says in some cases you have to. Now, that doesn't mean we're encouraging our police to go out and stop people and do all this kind of stuff and do immigration statuses. So, I just really can't support this in those regards. I think it defeats its purpose. It defeats its own purpose. If you're really trying to make people feel safe, you're defeating your own cause with something like this. It has no teeth. It has nobody. I can guarantee you, you can go out tomorrow, interview 30 people on the street, and they're going to have no clue other than the people that are in this room tonight. It's not making anyone feel safer. It's not doing anything. But what is it doing? It's putting a target on our back. You don't think Holman has people listening for stuff like this? You don't think they're going to double down? We've had less than 6 incidences in Garden Grove. Less than 6. I guarantee you if we pass something like this, it's going to go dramatically up. I guarantee it. We just approved a sculpture in this brand new park, $3 million federal grant in Ariana's district. We're going to jeopardize that now? Because I guarantee you that's on the table. We're not a charter city. We're a general law city. We don't even have standing to fight. We have to do what the state tells us to do. So I just want to make that clear about the reasonable suspicion and the detention. There was no arrest made in front of the school. There was a detention made. The guy was detained, the investigation was done, and he was released. That happens all the time to everyday citizens in this country. I used to, in the first 10 years of law enforcement, I averaged 25 felony arrests a month. And I detained a lot of people. And when I found out I didn't have probable cause, I sorry, I made a mistake, have a nice day. And that happens. That's how law enforcement works. So with that being said, I'll give you my time.
I'm going to take a little bit of time, but we're not going around the horn yet, so I won't be long, and maybe I'll speak enough so that I'll pass on my time when we close out. This is a rather important subject. So, because of the Brown Act, we don't always get to discuss among ourselves. So the only time we get to discuss is on the dais. So we're thinking out loud a lot, and I apologize if it takes longer, but we don't have too many options. And Ariana brings it forth to the council on the dais because we don't get to discuss it with her in any kind of a fashion that's meaningful. So I'm happy to speak to it now because It's not entirely surprise to me that's brought forward. Remember that I was the one that left the door open to resolution. So I welcome resolution. I'm not against resolutions. In fact, I want to pass one, just not this one. And I'll give you the reasons why. The authorship, I don't know who put it together. It seems pretty well written, but there are some things I'd like to change. So, and I think Ariana welcomes modifications. She's not against it. And I'm on the same page. I want to pass a resolution, whether it's symbolic or if it's enforceable. Obviously, it's not an ordinance, and our attorneys has told us that, you know, we're a general law city, so we don't have a lot of bite. If somebody violates any of these recommended more or less opinions of the council, there's not much we can do about it. And I do agree with George that it might cause more confusion. It might create more problems than it solves. It might be subject to misunderstanding, misinterpreting, and putting us on the map for the wrong reasons. So I'm going to tell you a little story. Back in the day when I was in Vietnam, little boy, 4 or 5 years old, we get seasonal monsoons, and it floods. So what do we do when the waters rise? We pack our little belongings, and we go into the attic with about a week's supply of food. And we wait for the storm to blow over, and we survive the flood. Doesn't sound like a great strategy, but sometimes you just have to let it blow over. Ice is going to blow over. There's a few incidences. I asked for evidence. I've seen some evidence. It's also in the news. It's not as terrifying as some people make it out to be, but then I wasn't there to witness it, and I'm not a person who got detained. So I do feel for the families, especially the children whose loved ones were detained. But again, I don't want to give in to fear or fear-mongering or becoming paralyzed. And I think this storm will blow over. It is a storm, something we'll have to weather. So I ask my fellow citizen to be patient. We're deliberating. And I repeat, I do want to pass a resolution, but not this one. One of the reasons is some of it's duplicative, and the sponsor, the person who introduced it, Councilwoman Ariana Aristegui, said that, like, number 3, it's redundant. It speaks to SB 54. And if it's an interpretation or application of SB 54, I want to provide that in the text, in line with SB 54 and its interpretation. So add that and provide a copy of SB 54, for instance. So it's an improvement, not necessarily that we're going to abandon this resolution. We're not going to abandon it. We're not going to not vote on it. I want to put it to a vote, but at this point, I'm inclined to table it until we can modify it adequately, until we can hear more. Since the last 2 weeks, our last meeting, I've got a lot of emails, 5, 6, 7 emails that is very helpful to my thinking and helpful to my decision-making process. So I can be convinced one way or the other, but I want to hear more. I don't really want to affirm what's already on the books. And if the city attorney can tell me that this particular resolution is already active as is, then we just need to put it out there that it's already been passed since 2017. I don't want to take credit for it passing, and I don't want to take away from what it stands for, because I noticed there was, 3 ayes, 2 nones, and maybe 1 or absent. So it passed with a majority vote, but it was not unanimous. So if we vote again tonight, I think that it might not pass, or it will not pass unanimously. In either case, It's not going to be as productive, useful, or helpful as we hope it to be, but it might cause more confusion. And I have other reasons for not passing it because, for instance, number 2, that the City Council and City of Garden Grove denounces any hateful rhetoric targeted against any person, group, or community seeking to disrupt, divide, physically threaten, or menacingly discriminate against any of them. I don't see it. I don't see that as a problem in our city. So I don't want to make an issue of something that's not a problem. And I also want to cite a passage, which is just an AI overview. You can Google it. And it says here, in the United States, the First Amendment generally protects even offensive speech, making pure hate speech not inherently illegal. However, laws do exist against hate crimes, which are actual criminal acts motivated by bias against a protected characteristic, race, religion, etc., not just the expression of hateful beliefs. So I don't want to denounce speech. Somebody came up here and dropped an F word, and my mayor said, decorum, point of order. And then she pushed back and she said, well, I get to express myself. And I happen to agree. Yes, you get to express yourself, but you also have to respect the decorum of this body. So at what point do you or us legislate or take as a policy where to draw the line? I'm not going there. I'm a free speech absolutist. Even hateful speech is protected. So until I see a hateful crime, I ain't gonna denounce nobody for their expression. That's why I have a problem with this resolution. Number 2, ask me to denounce hateful rhetoric. I'm not gonna do that. So I have many reasons to object to this particular resolution as it is. If it is active, let it be. If it is inactive, let it expire. I will not affirm it. But I will entertain modifications to it. Should anybody on the council want to rewrite, add, edit, or take feedbacks and input from the community, including from our chief of police. I want his opinion on number 3 about SB 54, because he and his officers are in the field enforcing the law, not us. I can't speak for them. Councilman George Bradgam has law enforcement background. And thank you for your clarification, because that's very helpful for me to understand the policing side of it. I'm not a policeman. I don't know the law enforcement side of it. I have some law education, so I understand the law aspects of it. I'm not satisfied this resolution will serve its intended purpose. I will vote it down tonight. But I will take it up again if there's a modification or a different resolution in front of this body next time, or as long as it takes to get it right, or at least more comprehensive than it is now, which I've stated clearly why I object to it, point by point. Thank you.
Yes, Councilwoman.
Mayor, if I may
Yes.
point of order.
order, sure.
See, so the item before you is for discussion as to whether you want to agendize it for action. Under the council's policies and procedures, council members can add items to the agenda for discussion, but only the majority of the city council can agendize an item for action. And so right now, Councilmember Aristegui is recommending that the city council consider this resolution to be added to the next agenda for action. And so, yes, you can fully discuss it because it's agendized, You can discuss whether you want to make changes today. And the way it normally works is if you do have a majority that agrees after discussion to the wording, then staff would put it together as a formal resolution and bring it back and put it back on the agenda. It could come back as a consent item if the council today agrees with the language, or we can put it back as a draft and you can continue to fully discuss it at your next meeting as well. So I wanted to make sure that we all understood what the procedure is.
Thank you, Omar, which is exactly why I mentioned that I'm happy if we add things and if we make changes, because this is the opportunity that we have to discuss this amongst all of us. I want to make sure that I clarify some points. First, there have been more than 6 incidents of ICE activity in our city. George, super happy to connect you with people that have all of the records of this information so that you are adequately informed about the breadth and scope of the activity that's been happening in our city. Furthermore, thank you so much, Joe, for bringing up the suggestion with regards to SB 54. Happy to hear any recommendations from Omar as well as to what that language would be to make it the most legally appropriate. Because again, this is not, we're not adding to the law, we're not subtracting to the law, we're making a statement of policy and our opinion. You also mentioned that if the existing 2017 resolution is already viable, why would we repeat language? But then you mentioned that you did disagree with item number 2, which is verbatim a reiteration of one of the components of the 2017 resolution. So I asked for you to please go back and take a look at that 2017 resolution to make sure that you know whether you agree or disagree with that resolution. I also want to make sure that I clarify what the vote count was at the previous time this resolution came towards this body. So the history of this resolution was that first it was proposed in 2016 by then Mayor Bao Win at the end of his term, and he asked staff to work on this resolution, and then it actually came before the City Council for vote in early January of 2017 when there was a new council body, which included at that time Mayor Steve Jones, District 1 Council Member Chris Beer, District 2 Council Member John O'Neill, District 3 Councilwoman Tu Ha Win, District 4 Council Member Fat Bowie, District 5 Council Member Stephanie Klopfenstein, District 6 Council Member Kim Wynn, and I think I already mentioned Steve Jones. And the majority did vote in favor of passing this resolution. In fact, then Mayor Steve Jones voted in favor of it, as did Districts 3 Council Member Tu Ha Win, District 4 Council Member Fat Bowie, and District 6 Council Member Kim Wynn, with Mayor Klopfenstein at the time being council member for District 5 voting against the resolution. And George, you were there too, but you were there as a resident and you actually spoke against this resolution back then. So I want to make sure that all of our community has the context and the information that they need to also understand what this conversation is about. So, you know, we're fully informed, right? So I do fully suggest we take a look back at that original resolution as well, because this is a draft. And I'm happy to continue doing the work forward. So sorry, Cindy, please go on.
So first I want to say thank to the resident who came and spoke, so that way we get to hear from, you know, this side or that side, just so that to gather more information. And I'm all for harmony, compassion, love, and of course, safety. And by looking at this, I do not see that. And so a lot of things that Councilmember Chodovin said is almost like exactly what I want to say. So thank you so much for speaking even way better than what I want to express. So like he said, we couldn't discuss before this. I would like to get more information and maybe work on that, but not the way it is right now. So that's my vote. Thank you.
Well, one second. Just again, point of order. Because this isn't formally agendized for the next meeting, we can have those discussions now. So-
Exactly.
Yes.
So if there is something that you would like to add, if there is something that you're feeling that you would like to, you can have that discussion now. We don't have to table this
Exactly.
for another 2 weeks. Those conversations can be had now.
And also, just so everyone know, for history, item number 3, which deals with the city council supports the chief of police in not requiring officers to check requests or verbally obtain proof of legal status. That came from former Chief Todd Elgin. So that was his understanding of how the police force was implementing state law.
Thank you so much for clarifying that, Omar. And I will further add to that at that time, Chief Elgin did come and speak in support of this resolution in 2017.
I'm sorry, Councilmember, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I don't know if we can all give insight or input on things that we find objectionable, and then maybe Councilwoman Ariana take all that to heart and rewrite this and bring it back at a later time. Or
Yeah.
if we sit here and try to draft it tonight, we're gonna be here till 3 in the
understand
morning. And
Okay.
I think it's faster if we just, the main, go and say, this is the main gripes that I have with it. If we're looking to do that, or is this something that we want to even pursue? I mean, we're looking at, it's already passed. This is already a resolution from 2017. Is it even really necessary? We know that it's not going to do anything effectively. It's not making the city more harmonious. It's not making it more safe. It's doing absolutely nothing other than maybe setting up a platform for someone or something. But quite frankly, even the folks that spoke here today in support of it laughed at it. This is like, why are we even doing this? Okay, because it has no substance. So I guess what I'm asking, is this something that we really want to pursue? Or are we going to, so I guess I'll make the motion. I move to deny.
George, I'm so glad to know where you stand on this. I want to make sure that I reiterate, again, 2017, please go back and look at the council meeting. It was specifically stated in 2017 that this is a symbolic resolution. This is about making our residents feel better. And you might feel like it's not going to make people feel better, but we have an overwhelming majority of people, folks that have come out here for the first time, maybe ever, to come and speak before this body, to say that they feel like they need to be heard on something. And you might feel like, this doesn't have teeth and it doesn't mean anything, but you know what it means? It means the public trust, George. And it's about the public in our city trusting us and where we stand as a collective body, knowing that these are the values that we have. Again, this is a symbolic gesture, but it is a gesture that is symbolically intended to make our residents feel better. And
if you think that it's going to make anyone feel safer, that's actually a bad thing, because people are going to end up getting caught and rounded up because they feel safe. I don't, and that's been brought up over and over again tonight and by yourself. This will make people feel safer. I don't see that it does that. It doesn't make anyone safer, and we're supposed to be the responsible ones. We're supposed to look at the overall effect on the community, not just placate one small group of the community.
Oh boy.
No, that's
okay.
Hold on, wait.
Let's take a moment here.
Let me finish my thought.
Hold on.
You're looking at you're looking at a diverse community in Garden Grove that doesn't just have illegal aliens in
I
it.
need point of order, please. We have to be able to discuss this freely and openly. My Mayor Pro Tem asked to make another comment. Please.
Please allow me to interject. might help. I want a point of clarification from attorney. This resolution is already on the books and it's active, is it not?
Yes.
So we have an active resolution. This resolution, as it appears in front of us, is already on the books. It's active. We don't have to vote on it. It never went away. There's no expiration date. There's no sunset clause on it. We can, in fact, put it out there for the public. Tonight, we offer to do that as a resolution that has already been passed. All right? So that's just for starters. Hear me out a bit. So our attorney already confirmed that this particular resolution, as adopted, is still active. It's on the books. I don't want to take credit for it, and I don't want to detract from it, and I don't want to have to vote on it again. Now, I'm open for discussion. Not a problem. I'm okay with symbolic politics. I have no problem with symbolism. That's okay. Even if it's for the symbols, the symbolism of it, I'm okay with that. If the council, with a majority vote, wants to bring a draft back for further discussion, that's what I'm offering as a vote. Am I consistent with the point of order, attorney? We can vote to bring it back as a draft for further discussion, can we not?
Yes.
Okay. So that gives the person who introduced the resolution an opportunity to take into account our feedback on the dice and the community feedback and work up what would be a new resolution, not a revival of one that's still alive. This one is already on the books, the harmony and, what do you call it here? Promoting community harmony and safety. I'm okay with it as it is. I just don't want to touch it because that's already on the books. I'm not going to second guess the authorship of it. Some other council passed it. And just because a couple of members are still here from 8 years back doesn't mean they don't get to create a new resolution if they want to. They can vote on a new resolution that's in front of them. Vote it up, vote it down, abstain. And I'm not going to say how I'm going to vote on the new resolution if there's a new one. Let's just give it a chance at a draft resolution and affirm that this is already on the book, but we're not going to vote on it. This has already been voted on. It's adopted. It's still active. We haven't voted to deactivate it. So it's alive. So take some comfort in that. It's already on the books. But also take comfort in the fact that we will work on a new resolution. I'm all for that. Even the symbolism of it. Let's put it in front of the council, let's have our discussion, and let's vote.
This is the only time we can do that. We can't sit out of it, right? Or are you?
This is not the only time. I'm offering or proffering a draft that's going to be brought back and agendized for further discussion.
I would like to point out also, Joe, that there is no reported hate crime in speech in our city. In our city, the website, we do have instances of hate crime that has occurred in our city. This is under the section hate crime reports. I would like to ask Chief if that is the case. And I would also encourage you to read some of these reports. They're very descriptive.
I'm more inclined to, I don't know. Is the chief here? Is he available for comment? Obviously, this is a heated topic. There's a lot of opinions swirling around. I hear a desire from colleagues for something deeper or greater, not this. Maybe tabling it is the better decision for this evening, as we can then maybe reconvene and learn more, knowing that there is a resolution on the books. Chief, thank you for coming in. Councilwoman, do you want to ask your question again, please?
Yeah, so is there any hate reports that have, do we have any reports of hate crimes in Garden Grove?
We certainly take hate crimes very seriously, and we do have hate crime incidents and crimes that have occurred in the city in the past, but at a very low level. I am unaware of anything specifically related to anything to do with ICE operations within the city.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and I think that's very clear, but I don't know if you heard when I mentioned, or Attorney Omar Sandoval mentioned, that the number 3 on this resolution, that the City Council of the City of Garden Grove fully supports the Chief of Police and the city's police department in not requiring officers to check, request, and/or verbally obtain proof of legal status in the execution of their duties unless the suspect's legal status is directly related to the incident leading to the law enforcement intervention. And the city attorney said this came from previous Chief Elgin. Now, we've had 2 chiefs since. One was Chief Dore, and 2 is Chief Amir Alfara. This is not your language, is it? And would you change anything to that language?
We put out a statement earlier this year, and the Garden Grove Police Department stance is simply this when it comes to immigration issues. We do not participate in any immigration enforcement activities, nor will we inquire about an individual's immigration status.
And I would prefer that language in number 3 of a new resolution.
And I have no problem amending this resolution to include that language.
And a reference to SB 54.
Again, I fully support that.
Thank you.
Now, George, since this doesn't seem to be substantive, what would you like us to do to address these issues and the concerns that we're hearing from the public?
Again, just on the reading of it, I didn't like number 3, like Joe had mentioned, that the city council fully supports the chief of police and the city's police department in not requiring officers to check. It's a negative, but I didn't like the wording of that. I think more in line with, we recognize the Garden Grove Police Department complies with state law in regards to working with, in that regard, instead of saying, we support the chief of police of the city's police department and not requiring, again, that's kind of putting words in our chief's mouth. Again, it comes from 2 chiefs ago. But I think it's more consistent to say the council recognizes that the Garden Grove Police Department will comply with state law in regards to, and leave it at that. And then maybe add the extra thing. The other thing about, people living in fear and, where was that? As it is, it's watered down quite a bit. I think if people read this, they would, oh, here it is. Whereas acknowledges the fear and concerns expressed by many members of the community, and fear is a subjective thing. Quite frankly, some people are afraid to walk out in the backyard at night. Some people are afraid of the boogeyman under the bed. Some people, it's a very subjective thing, what some people are afraid of, what others aren't. A lot of fear is self-imposed. And so, that fear can be overcome by simply doing other things. But with that being said, I don't like that whole sentence about fear. I get some people are afraid, and I recognize people are afraid. But, some people are afraid of clowns.
So do you acknowledge that there's fear in our community as a result of an increased federal law enforcement presence?
Definitely. I don't recognize that it's a rational fear, but I
That's
do
all it
recognize
says.
there's a fear. And so, so I think that could be rewritten.
If you want to beef it up, George, by all means, let's beef it up.
But as it writes, even when you read it, it's very milquetoast as it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, I
Perfect.
appreciate the dialogue and I appreciate the back and forth, and I know this is a sensitive topic and we want to be able to dialogue in a way that we normally cannot do, potentially off this dais. I don't feel that we are ready as a body to move forward on this evening. And so my motion is to table this at this time.
Actually, that was my motion. I think you're seconding.
Then I'll
I
second that.
I'll third it.
I agree. Get it over with.
I will state that I am opposed. I do believe that we have the bandwidth to continue having this conversation, to at least continue discussing any additional points of improvement for the sake of the production of another draft that we could have in discussion at our next meeting.
We have a motion and a second to table. I'd like to call for that vote, please.
I have a substitute motion to continue the conversation.
I'll second that motion with Ariana.
We're going to vote for the
Can-
substitute motion.
Is there another occasion where when we can craft this as a whole? It like legally do it, because there's a lot of opinions and we need to address our constituents' issue. We're diverse. That's the beauty of Garden Grove. That is within one of our issues, and that we want to, as a council, collectively.
I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that's being denied or not held into account this evening. I just think that we're not ready personally at this time.
So how can we get ready, attorney? I would like to know, as a whole, so we can move quickly.
You could only do that at an agendized meeting where the public has noticed that you will have that discussion. So Brown Act does not allow the majority of the city council to have a discussion outside of a public meeting that's agendized and noticed to the public.
So that would be 2 weeks from now, being the most recent agendized meeting.
On a motion to table, if it passes, an item cannot come back unless the parties that move to table will move to take it off the table. So a motion to table basically indefinitely puts an item on hold until a member of the parties that voted for the tabling take it off the table.
We need to.
So
call
essentially,
for the
they
vote.
could deadlock this for an indefinite amount of time.
We need to call for the vote on the substitute motion so that we can get back to the original motion potentially, right? We need to
Yes.
vote. So we're calling for the vote on the substitute motion to continue the conversation. Please call for that vote.
Going to do a roll call vote. Councilmember Aristegui?
Nope.
Councilmember.
You'd be a yes.
Do I need a yes to table? Is this my substitute motion?
On the substitute motion.
Oh, then I affirmatively do not wish to table this. Thank you, guys.
Councilmember Aristegui?
Yes.
Councilmember Muñetón?
Yes.
Councilmember Tran?
Can I make a comment, so I have to vote?
It's yes or no. You're either voting to keep going or you're voting no to table.
Table mean that we would be able to bring it back, or reverse it, right?
Yeah, they can come back again.
Okay, so then no, meaning that we could reword on it.
Voting
Okay.
no on this for right now.
Okay, no.
Mayor Klopfenstein?
No.
Councilmember Brightingham?
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Dovin?
Nay. I like to say nay or aye, and it's a no.
And Councilmember Nguyen?
I would like to able to come back with it.
Motion received. The motion fails with Council Members Tran, Mayor Klopfenstein, Councilmember Brightingham, Mayor Pro Tem Dovin, and Councilmember Nguyen voting no.
And the other motion now is
We're tabling it for this evening.
to table.
We have a motion and a second for that.
You can consider a motion to table for a specific time. So you can say 2 meetings.
Could have it done tomorrow,
May-
George.
Yeah, may I just say something? I mean, this is to the council here and also to the resident here. We talk about all the things that if you pay attention, we all for harmony, for love, for safety. And we agree to work on it if, we still have the concern and we want to make sure that we get the right thing. And I think that we all should be happy and agree to that because everybody here agreed to that. And so I hope that Councilmember Ariana and Yesenia think about that. We didn't say no. We just say that we want to, and you want to work together to come up with something. And this is the path forward. So I think that's just a win for everybody. So that was it.
We have a motion and a second. I don't think we should put a time frame on this because I don't know. So I don't want to do that personally. Yeah, I'm not putting a time label on that.
I agree. No timeline. We already have a resolution on the book that's active. Those who like it can enforce it however it's enforceable. And be out there and publicize it so you take comfort. We have an active resolution on the book. Is it reaffirmed tonight? No,
It
we're
is
not.
not.
I need to call for the vote. I'm
Okay.
done with discussion. We're
And
gonna
I
call
am
for the vote.
opposed to this.
Go for the vote.
Councilmember Aristegui?
No.
Councilmember Muñetón?
No.
Councilmember Tran?
Yes.
Mayor Clavestein?
Yes.
Councilmember Brightigam?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dovin?
Yes, indefinitely. Until we're ready, we can vote on it to bring it back.
Councilmember Nguyen?
Yes.
Motion passes with Councilmember Aristegui and Councilmember Muñetón voting no.
All right. With that, we still have matters. So we will, George, do you want to?
My mic on. I don't have a lot. Well, I'll wait for the crowd.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't have a lot. Actually, I don't have anything. I'm happy that we got the Harbinger issue addressed here today, and I'm glad everybody understood that, you know, we don't hold the business accountable for maybe some shortfalls by staff. You know, that was great. We did have the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Brandywine project there off of Santa Catalina. What's it called? The Gobel? The Gobel?
Gables.
The Gables, I'm sorry. And it's 26 townhomes, full market value townhomes, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, 2, 3, 4 baths. So there's some different plans within that. It's a no concessions on that, fully parked development. I think it's going to be a great addition to the community, and I'm glad Brandywine's coming in. I'm glad they took a lot of input from the community and heard what the community said, because, you know, they could have came in there and put 188 units stacked in, and they ended up putting 26. And I think it's going to fit it's actually overparked, which is kind of a new thing for Garden Grove, you know, so I'm glad to see that. And that's about all I have.
I have nothing to.
Yay, so I get to talk about funding. So first, earlier we have a proclamation about Hunger Action Month. I just want to take this opportunity to say thanks to the nonprofit group, the donor, and the people out there, the volunteers who have been doing, you know, food delivery and businesses that help would reduce the excess edible food. And so I know that because I have done a lot of that. I have carried boxes of food, drop off at people's house. So I know that a lot of hard work. But I just want to take this opportunity to say thanks to the volunteers and to the businesses who contribute to that and help, you know, the hunger out there. Second, also about another proclamation earlier, we talked about different clubs. And thanks to Council Member Brigham talking about, you know, the Women Club. There are other clubs that we could recognize, but during the review with staff, I did mention that to our staff, but next time we would have more to that list. I just want to mention two different groups. One is Hội Tâm Linh. They actually celebrate their 16th year anniversary today. And that's another club that actually bring music and harmony to the community. And the other one is Lạc Hồng, which is the Vietnamese Traditional Art Development Organization, non-profit group, try to, promote the Vietnamese traditional art to music and things like that. So just want to take opportunity to say congrats to them. Next, I would like to say congratulations to Father Joseph Lund, who is the pastor for St. Columban Church. He just celebrated 35 years of priesthood. He fluently Vietnamese, Spanish, and English. Everybody love him. So thank you for his service and the thing that he does for the community that just make people feel kind of, well, of course, like safe, harmony, and peaceful that we talked about earlier. And then also, I want to say thank to, let's see, to Supervisor Janet Nguyen for the event, a 15 year of Vietnamese American journey. Our mayor and other council member was there to celebrate. It was amazing event. After 50 years, we just want to celebrate, and through the whole program, the supervisor recognized and a lot of recognition to the people that support the Vietnamese community. Next, I just want to talk about the, there will be on September 27, there will be a Moon Festival for disability children at the Atlantic Park. I did talk to our mayor a little bit about that, and we would like to support that event. So more information will come soon. I think, okay. So last but not least, just want to say thanks to Son, Matt, and Lisa on helping with the traffic synchronization. So what happened that I talked at this council meeting, I think at the previous council meeting. And so as you know, there's a lot of traffic at on Brookhurst at 22. And the issue we had was because Caltrans did not work with our city on the synchronization. So thanks to our staff and also Cheetah office, Assembler Cheetah, they called me a couple days ago. They actually were able to talk to Caltrans. They agreed to work with our city on the traffic synchronization. So I cannot wait to see when that happens. So that way you're gonna see the progress or the improvement for traffic there. Kind of relate to the Caltrans. We have a couple people talk about the tunnel between Trask and Bosa Grande or Garden Go Park. I talked to our staff and provide a picture. So we are working on a plan to clean up that area. And of course, our staff have to talk to Caltrans. But we're planning to probably or maybe to do a mural right in front of that tunnel. So if anyone out there that interested want to do a community project or any council here that interested to support, please let me know. That would be something that would make direct impact to our residents, especially the students who work there. Also, I want to say congratulations to the 6th Scout who got the Gold Award ceremony, Eagle Scout, last week at the Garden Go Methodist Church. The reason why I bring it here is because some of them, actually in the previous council meeting, we have one of the Scout that actually did a great project at our city, right on the Medal Honor Trail. And so I talked to them, and hopefully there will be more projects that are coming up in our city that they would be able to take on and make some positive impact to our community. That's it for me, Mayor.
Next.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and speaking today. I love the packed audience. It's like a third meeting that's packed. That's how democracy works. I'd like to see a packed audience again for the rest of the year and long into my service in 2026. That's a very welcoming and warm, heartfelt audience. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, my mayor and colleagues, for a lively discussion. That's what I signed on to, and it kept me awake past my bedtime. As promised, I yield my time.
Councilwoman.
Good evening, everyone. First, I want to thank Chief Afara and GGPD for setting up a speed trailer at Hastur as a result of the meet and greet we had last month. The data concluded that there does not appear to be any speeding issue on the street. With over 22,000 vehicles recorded, more than 88% were following the speed. Those that did not were less than 5 miles per hour over the limit. Those kinds of studies are critical as they provide us with evidence-based knowledge and data that refer back to when speaking to constituents. I also want to thank everybody who came out to speak today, and I hope everybody has a great night and get home safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Hi, everyone. I want to make sure I get some business out of the way first. First and foremost, in case some of you guys don't know, I currently represent the city of Garden Grove at the Orange County Vector and Mosquito Control Board. And you might have been receiving some notices at your home that there's been some spraying that's being conducted, and that's because we have found one incident of West Nile virus in a dead bird here in the city of Garden Grove. The Vector and Mosquito Control Board routinely inspects and tests both mosquito populations around our city and our neighboring cities here in Orange County. And they also conduct tests on animals that are given to them that are found as roadkill or dead animals. They conduct testing on them. So we have had an incident of West Nile found in one of those cases. No incidents of human contagion, but that's just to reinforce that we should be constantly checking any of our standing water. If you have a swimming pool in the back, if there's any kind of standing water around, to make sure that we're getting rid of those potential breeding sources for mosquitoes so that they don't proliferate and eventually infect a person. So there have been notices going around, and this spraying takes place between 12 a.m. and 5 a.m. So you'll see the Vector Mosquito Control Board trucks out doing the spraying along the streets. I do want to clarify and really reinforce to folks that the sprays that are being used by our Vector and Mosquito Control Board scientists are not toxic to us humans. There's no danger to us. So if you see them, please let them do what they do. They're trying to make sure that they're controlling those populations to make sure that we are safe. Another thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I thank our public works folks for helping us address some issues that we've had with some sandy water at Santiago High School. So hopefully we're able to resolve that rather quickly so that the kids don't have to worry about having sand in their water fountains. Want to make sure they're able to drink good water. We had quite the lively discussion today, and I really do want to extend my gratitude and my thanks to all of the folks that came here, because I know that it takes a lot of bravery and courage to come up here and represent not just yourself, but your friends, your family, and the other members of your community, because a lot of us are scared. I do travel around with my passport just in case, because such are the times, because even as an American citizen, as someone who was born literally down the street at Garden Grove Hospital on the 7th floor on a warm summer evening of August 16, 1991, thank you guys so much for celebrating my birthday at the last meeting, by the way, there is cause for fear. And I think we owe it to our residents to listen to them and not mitigate it or try to negate it or speak against it, right? And if folks are coming to speak to us about something, it's because it's a rightful concern. And, you know, we got really lively, but I welcome all of you guys to continue to have conversations about things, right? I want to make sure that this body is as educated as possible on the issues that are being faced by this community. All of us represent different districts in the city, and our city is made up of a lot of different people, and even all of our different districts have a different makeup of residents, of ages, of creeds, of all of those things. So what you might see in your district might not be what's going on in a neighboring district. And when all of this started, a lot of this activity, because it is more than 6 incidents, really did start on our side of town, on the east side. But we now know that there are more things that are happening. And it's not always with the bad guys. There's bad guys out there, and the bad guys should be caught. There's nothing wrong with catching bad guys. But we want to make sure that we let our residents know that if you're an American citizen, someone with status, that we want you to feel safe in this community just as much as everyone else. Even if you're an undocumented person, you're a resident of the city, and you have certain rights that are granted to you by this Constitution. And we are here, we fill up potholes, we fix lights, we take care of parks and all of those things. And these are things that are used by all of our residents in the community, and it's important for us to maintain public trust. And when we make sure that parts of our community that are hurting are taken care of, that's because we want to make sure everyone in our community is able to thrive. Everyone. And I want to make sure that as we continue having these discussions, we acknowledge the dignity and the humanity of the people that go to great lengths to come here and speak to us. We're here because we were elected to do this, and if people want to come and yell at us, you know, we take it in the chin. And we go on, we continue the next meeting, and they want to keep talking, we just keep taking it in the chin, right? But our residents didn't choose to have the reality that they're in right now. And the least that we owe them is the dignity to show them a little bit of respect, you know? And if you want to chuckle about it, you can do that at home. We tried our best to represent everyone. And in these times, it's true. There's a part of our community that's being impacted more than the other. And they deserve consideration. They deserve respect. And it's happening to us. It's happening to our families. It's happening to our friends and our neighbors. It's happening to my teachers. It's, you know, happening to the people, you know, running the businesses up and down Harbor and Garden Grove Boulevard. So I asked to all of my colleagues the next time that we come up here, we try to inform ourselves as much as possible about the lived experiences of our neighbors, so that we really are acting upon those values of compassion that we are trying to live up to. Because 83% of the city comes from an immigrant. Well, more than that actually comes from an immigrant, but it's folks that came from other countries. So I hope that we'll be ready next time, and we'll be ready to address the members of our community with the respect and the dignity that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a few things I'd like to make mention of, things that are going on in the community. We have the Kiwanis Car Show coming up on September 7th. That'll be from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The flag raising is always at 10 a.m. It's a wonderful community event. You can find more information on Facebook. I know that George is also a Kiwanian, so I'm sure you will be there as well as myself, and I'm sure some of my other colleagues. There are vendors, foods, raffles. It's their 6th annual car show. It's always well attended and a great event. I also want to thank Jennifer Stewart. Obviously, we passed her art project for Woodbury Park this evening. She is an incredible artist here locally in the community. This art project will obviously be a wonderful addition to Woodbury Park when we cut the ribbon on that next year. And also there'll be involvement from the youth in the community, from the Boys and Girls Club. So it's a wonderful project. I'm thankful that we have such a robust desire for public art and being able to put these in our parks. So that's an exciting project. And then we also have this week Pollo Campero, which is opening up in District 5 over near our Harbor Corridor. It's exciting to have a new restaurant. That specific space has sat vacant for such a long time. And so it's wonderful to finally see a business come to fruition on that lot. Congratulations to Brandywine. We obviously broke ground on a wonderful project today that is sitting on Santa Catalina in District 1. So a lot of good things happening in Garden Grove all over the community. And with that, I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. No items for me tonight.
City Attorney?
Mayor, members of the City Council, we did have a closed session earlier today, and there's no reportable action. That's all for me. Thank you.
All right, with that, we stand adjourned.